My wife stood at the mirror in that tight crimson dress, smudging her lipstick just to redo it again, like she was getting ready for the damn Oscars. I stepped out of the hallway, towel around my waist, hair still dripping from the shower, and asked, "Big night?" She didn't even turn, just smiled at her own reflection like it was her biggest fan and said, "Honey, don't wait up tonight. I promised my lover a wild night." Her words hit me like a sucker punch. I blinked, thought maybe I'd misheard her. But then she turned, winked, and added, "You'll manage." That was it. No shame, no hesitation, no explanation. Then came the knock. 3 slow thuds on the front door. I stared at her, thinking this can't be real. I hadn't even processed the absurdity of her little confession, and now there was someone at the door. Like this entire twisted theater production had a script, and I was the last idiot to get his lines. I opened it, and there he stood, tall, athletic, beard like he spent an hour grooming it. He wore that smugness only guys who think they're untouchable can pull off. He didn't speak. He just raised his eyebrows like I was the doorman to his date. I didn't move. My knuckles whitened around the edge of the door. I looked back at her, Courtney, my wife of 7 years, mother of my daughter, the woman I once thought was the best thing that ever happened to me. She just smirked, tossed her hair, grabbed her purse, and walked right past me like I was invisible. I muttered, "If you walk out now, you'll regret it forever." Courtney paused for half a breath, glanced over her shoulder, and said, "You always were dramatic." Then she got into that loser's black Charger and sped off like she was in some music video. Something in me cracked. I stood there for what felt like an eternity, then walked inside in silence. But my mind wasn't silent. My chest was thumping with a rage I hadn't felt since my father's funeral, when everyone pretended to care, but no one really gave a damn. I grabbed a trash bag. First thing I did, tore every single piece of her clothing from the closet, dresses, heels, that ridiculous cheetah print robe she wore on Sunday mornings. Set it all in the backyard. Poured lighter fluid. Watched it burn like her lies. Then I sat down at my desk, logged into our joint bank account, transferred every last cent into a new account under my name, left $1.01 just to piss her off. Next, I printed an eviction notice and taped it to the front door, legally binding, thanks to the lease being solely under my name, which she had begged me to sign alone for convenience. The final touch? I packed a duffel, grabbed my passport, and walked out the damn door, leaving behind ashes, echoes, and silence. She thought she could humiliate me in my own home. Thought I'd crawl into bed, cry into my pillow, maybe send her a text asking why. She had no clue who she married. I'm not the guy who begs. I'm the guy who ends chapters and writes new ones with fire. And as I walked through the terminal toward a one-way ticket to Miami, I texted her only once. "Enjoy your wild night. You'll find the key doesn't work anymore." She didn't reply, but that was just the beginning. The real chaos started the next day, when her world began to crash, and mine, oh mine, just began to rise from the ashes. I landed in Miami just after sunrise. The ocean was glowing gold, the air sticky and thick with salt and sweat. I wasn't here to relax. This wasn't some midlife escape to sip overpriced mojitos and forget. This was my battlefield now, my new beginning. But as the plane touched down and I shut off airplane mode, the first messages rolled in. Not from Courtney. From Jake, my best friend since middle school. "Bro, you good? Just saw Courtney's story. You need to call me." I opened Instagram. I hadn't even unfollowed her yet. Hadn't decided if I wanted to see what she'd become. But there it was. The first post. Her in that same red dress, laughing, dancing on a rooftop bar with the guy from last night. Tyler, apparently. Tagging him with hearts and a caption that read, "When you finally choose you red heart #free at last #new chapter." New chapter? Oh, I was writing mine too, sweetheart. But mine had plot twists you wouldn't see coming. I called Jake. "What's the story?" He sighed. "Man, I didn't want to be the one to tell you, but Courtney's been at this for months. Maybe longer. You remember when she said she was going on that yoga retreat in Palm Springs with her sister? Yeah. She was in Vegas. With him. I stopped walking. Jake went on. And that trip to Napa with her coworker? Tyler again. She didn't even try to cover her tracks much, just assumed you'd never look." The more he spoke, the more pieces started falling into place. All the late nights. The dead phone batteries. The girls' nights that ended with her sneaking in at 2 a.m. smelling like cologne that didn't belong to me. I was blind. Or maybe just hopeful. Courtney used to be someone I trusted with my life. We'd been through everything. College loans, losing her dad, raising our daughter Sophie, who was now just 6 and full of questions. And now she was flaunting some new guy like I never existed. But what really got me was this. Jake said he saw them at my gym. Not just together. Arms around each other, her sitting in his lap in the lounge area, laughing like they owned the place. She didn't just cheat. She made a damn routine out of it. She had dates scheduled like business meetings, lies organized by day of the week. And I'd been home, making dinner, folding her laundry, thinking I was the lucky one. But no, I was the joke. The placeholder. The background character in her twisted little romantic comedy. And the worst part? She'd been slowly rewriting our shared life behind my back. I checked the smart home app and saw she'd disabled my admin access. Checked the security cameras, offline. She had been preparing for this like a general before war. But I had my own weapons now. I didn't feel hurt anymore. Not the kind that makes you cry. No, this was different. This was controlled. Focused. Precise. I started a new folder on my laptop. Operation Clean Slate. Inside it, screenshots of every lie. Her public Instagram stories. The Airbnb receipt from yoga retreat weekend. A note to my lawyer. A private investigator's number. Courtney had played her game. Now it was time for mine. And if she thought draining me emotionally would leave me too broken to act, well, she'd forgotten one small thing. I built this life. Every brick. Every dollar. Every ounce of trust. And I'm about to burn down what's left of her fantasy castle. 2 days passed. Not a word from Courtney. Not even a fake apology or one of those half-hearted, we should talk texts. She thought I was done, like I'd just disappear quietly and let her live her new dream life with her gym rat boy toy. But she didn't know me anymore. Maybe she never did. I flew back in the middle of the night. No warning. No announcement. I didn't go home. I went to my lawyer's office first thing that morning and dropped a flash drive on his desk with everything she never thought I'd find. Every photo, every message, and every documented lie. Fast-track the divorce, I said, and hit her hard. Then I drove to our house. No, my house. The locks were changed, the cameras reactivated, and a notice from my attorney now sat taped to the front door right next to the eviction. When she pulled up in that borrowed black Charger, I was sitting on the porch with a black coffee and 0F***** S left to give. She stepped out like she was walking a red carpet, sunglasses on, attitude dialed up to full throttle. "What the hell is this?" she snapped, yanking the eviction notice. "Exactly what it says," I said calmly. "You're trespassing now, Courtney." She laughed. "Oh, come on, Jason. Are you seriously trying to play the victim here? You've always been dramatic, but this is next-level pathetic." I stood. My voice didn't raise. I didn't need to yell. I needed her to listen. "I gave you everything. Every ounce of who I was. I trusted you when you said you were at yoga, when you were at Napa, when you said you loved me." Courtney rolled her eyes. "Oh, please. Don't start with the sentimental crap. You were boring. Safe. Predictable. Tyler makes me feel alive." That's when I knew she didn't just cheat. She enjoyed it. She reveled in it. She thought it made her powerful. "You could have left me like a decent human being," I said. "But you had to lie. You had to humiliate me." Courtney leaned in close, lowered her voice like we were partners in some secret. "I was waiting for you to man up and end it first. But you never had the balls." I looked her dead in the eye. "I burned your clothes. I emptied our bank account. And I'm taking full custody of Sophie." Her smirk cracked. "You wouldn't dare. She deserves better than this mess you've become." For the first time, I saw a flicker of panic in her eyes. Real, raw panic. Not because she lost me, but because she finally understood I wasn't bluffing. I was moving on without her, and worse, I was going to win. She stormed toward the door. "You can't keep me out. I live here too." I held up a court order, fresh from my attorney. "Not anymore." Tyler's car rolled up just as she turned to scream something back at me. He stepped out, flexing like he was ready for a fight. I just waved. "You'll want to read that letter I had delivered to your gym, Tyler. It's from my lawyer. About the harassment complaint. And the footage. Good luck with your career, champ." His face dropped. Courtney lost it. "You petty piece of—" I turned and walked inside, shutting the door behind me. I heard her pounding on the wood, yelling threats, curses, crying and screaming. But I didn't flinch, didn't look back. She wanted war. She got it. And I had only just fired my first shot. When the door shut, the silence hit like a wave. Not peaceful silence, no. This was the kind of silence that makes your chest tight. That heavy kind, where the air doesn't move, and your thoughts echo so loud they feel like screams. I stood in the foyer. Just stood there. Everything looked the same. The picture frames on the wall, Sophie's pink backpack on the hook, her little shoes by the door. But I wasn't the same man who left 3 days ago. And this wasn't my home anymore. Not really. Because every corner of it now had fingerprints of betrayal on it. That red couch? That's where Courtney used to sit on Friday nights, claiming she was too tired to go out. Now I knew she was just texting him under a blanket. The kitchen island? That's where she laughed while I cooked, probably checking Tyler's stories while telling me she loved mine. It all felt like a crime scene. I made my way to the bedroom and sat at the edge of the bed. Her perfume still lingered in the air. That fake vanilla scent she always said made her feel expensive. I stared at the empty pillow next to mine, and something broke loose inside me. Not rage. Not yet. Something worse. Grief. Because that's what betrayal really is, isn't it? It's a death. The death of the life you thought you had. The death of trust. Of intimacy. Of safety. You grieve the smiles, the private jokes, the plans. You grieve the version of her you thought was real. I had spent years loving that woman. Late-night drives just to get her favorite ice cream. Holding her when she cried about losing her dad. Laughing over wine on the porch while dreaming about retiring in Lake Tahoe. I poured every part of me into this marriage. I gave without keeping score, and she spat on all of it. I felt humiliated. I felt discarded. Like I was a tool she outgrew. Useful until she found a newer, shinier model with abs and an ego the size of Texas. But here's the part no one tells you. The pain isn't just about the act. It's about how easily she did it. How effortlessly she lied. How she looked me in the eye, called me babe, and then turned around and let another man touch her like she was single and free. I wanted to scream, break something, drive until the tank ran dry. But instead, I reached for my phone, opened the voice memo app, and I spoke to myself, because if I didn't say it out loud, I'd drown in it. She cheated. She betrayed me. She tried to erase me. But I'm still standing. I repeated that 3 times, even as my voice cracked, even as my eyes burned. I wouldn't let this destroy me. Not for Sophie. Not for my pride. And definitely not for Courtney. I got up and grabbed the framed photo from our wedding off the dresser. I stared at her smile, the fake one. The one I used to think was love. Then I opened the window and let the wind take it. No theatrics. Just gone. And in that moment, I realized something. This pain wasn't just a curse. It was a rebirth. Pain strips you. It exposes you. And what's left behind is the real you, raw and undefeated. Courtney didn't just wake up one day and betray me. She made 1,000 little choices. And now, so would I? One choice at a time, to rebuild, to reclaim, to remember who the hell I was before I gave my soul to someone who didn't deserve it. The next morning, I woke up early. The kind of early where the sky still has that purple haze and the streets are dead quiet. I didn't sleep much. My body was tired, but my mind? Wide awake. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, smirking, mocking, walking out that door like I was a piece of furniture she no longer needed. But this morning was different. Today wasn't about her. It was about Sophie. I drove to my parents' house where Sophie had been staying since the blow-up. I didn't want her around the chaos. My mom greeted me at the door with that look only mothers have. The one that says, I know you're broken, but I'm not going to say it. She hugged me tight, didn't ask questions, and said, she's upstairs, still sleeping. I walked up slowly. Every step toward that room reminded me why I had to keep moving forward. There she was, curled up, her stuffed bunny under one arm, hair a mess, drool on her pillow. Beautiful chaos. My little girl. And just like that, every trace of self-pity evaporated. She stirred, eyes opening halfway. Daddy, hey, Peanut, I whispered. I missed you. She sat up, arms reaching for me. I pulled her into my chest and held her like the world could end any minute. And that's when I made the promise. Not just to her, but to myself. I'll never let her lie to you the way she lied to me. I'll protect you from that. Always. I wasn't just a heartbroken husband anymore. I was a father with purpose. And that gave me power. By noon, I was back home, back on the phone with my lawyer. I demanded full custody. I didn't care how messy it got. I wasn't going to let Sophie grow up watching a woman like Courtney model what love and loyalty are supposed to look like. Hell no. The lawyer warned me. This is going to get ugly. She's vindictive. I know, I said. So am I now. Next, I reached out to a private investigator I'd worked with years ago during a business dispute. The guy was ex-military, discreet, and brutal when it came to details. I wanted everything. Who Tyler was. His background. His finances. His dirty laundry. I wanted to know what Courtney was planning next, because I could feel it in my gut. She wasn't done. She wouldn't just fade away. She'd come back swinging. Probably try to twist things. Paint herself as the victim. Maybe even weaponize Sophie. But this time, I'd be 10 steps ahead. I hit the gym for the first time in weeks that evening. Not because I cared about abs or stress relief, but because I needed to feel something under control again. With every rep, I imagined shedding her lies. Every drop of sweat felt like one less ounce of betrayal dragging me down. I ran into a guy there, Mike, who'd been through something similar. His wife cheated with his boss. Said she wanted new energy. He lost everything, rebuilt, and now owned a chain of restaurants. He said something that stuck. Revenge is temporary. Legacy is permanent. That night, I wrote out my goals. Not just legal ones, real ones. Life goals. Things I'd abandoned while playing happy husband to a woman who was halfway out the door. Launch the side business I kept shelving. Take Sophie to Disney this summer, just the two of us. Sell the house, start over somewhere new. Never trust blind. But never let bitterness win, either. Courtney tried to break me, but she lit a fire she couldn't contain. This wasn't just survival now. It was a full-blown rebirth. And the next chapter? It was going to be mine, on my terms. 3 days after I saw Sophie, I got the call I was expecting. Courtney. Block number, of course. She was always careful. Wanted deniability even when her whole life was a damn lie. I let it go to voicemail. 30 seconds later, another call. Then a text. We need to talk. Stop being childish. Childish. Coming from the woman who posted #FreeAtLast with her side piece while our daughter stayed at my parents' house because she couldn't explain the mess she created? That was rich. I didn't answer. I had a better idea. My lawyer called later that day and confirmed she had been officially served with divorce papers and a motion for full custody. Apparently, she went ballistic at the delivery guy, screaming about being ambushed and emotional warfare. Good. Let her feel it. That night, I sat down and finalized something I'd been planning for days. The trap. See, while Courtney had been busy doing her reinvented queen act on social media, she forgot something crucial. She still used the same passwords. I had access to everything. Her cloud backups, her emails, and most importantly, her shared calendar. Turns out, Courtney was planning a weekend getaway with Tyler to some overpriced Airbnb cabin in the mountains. Camelot spa, couples massages, wine tasting. Real fairy tale stuff. She had no idea I knew. I sent her a message the morning of the trip. Hey, I agree. We should talk. Come by tomorrow evening. Just you. 8 p.m. She replied immediately. Thank God. I'll be there. I smiled. Because I already knew what she'd be walking into. I spent the day setting the stage. Candles in the living room. Her favorite wine still had an unopened bottle from her birthday. Music low. The lights dim. If betrayal had a scent, I made sure it reeked of seduction and ego. 8:04 p.m. She walked in. Tight black dress. Perfect hair. Same manipulative confidence she always wore like perfume. You look better, she said, closing the door behind her. Miami did you good. I raised a glass. You too. Love the dress. She smirked. Sat down like she still owned the place. Look, Jason, I know things got out of hand, but we've always had a connection, right? Maybe we just lost sight of it. You and me, we can fix this. There it was. The act. Like she hadn't turned our marriage into a circus and invited the entire internet to watch. I leaned in. Calm. Composed. I'm listening. She launched into a monologue about growth, mistakes, the pressure of motherhood, how Tyler was just a symptom of her confusion. Not real. Just a phase. And I know you hate me, she said, eyes glossy with crocodile tears, but I've been thinking about Sophie. She needs us together. That's when I hit play. On the flat screen behind me, a series of photos lit up, her in bed with Tyler, time-stamped from different weekends. Then a video, her laughing, saying, Jason still thinks I'm doing yoga. God, he's so gullible. Her face went pale. You recorded me? No. You recorded you. You synced everything to the cloud and forgot to change the password. She stood up fast. You're a psycho. I stood too. Calm. Taller. Stronger now. You thought you could wreck my life and come back when the thrill wore off? Nah. That's not how this ends. She tried to storm out, but I wasn't finished. Courtney, I said as she reached for the doorknob. Tyler's being investigated for insurance fraud. My lawyer sent the video to the gym's board. He's losing his contract next week. She froze. Welcome to your new chapter. She left without a word. And as the door clicked shut, I smiled for the first time in weeks. Not because I hurt her, but because I reclaimed myself. The morning after Courtney stormed out of my house, I stood by the window, sipping coffee, watching the sun climb over the rooftops. The same sun that rose the day she told me not to wait up. The same sun that had illuminated the ashes of her clothes in the backyard. But today felt different. For the first time, there was no weight on my chest. No ache. No wondering what I could have done differently. She was gone, and I didn't miss her. Not even a little. The fallout came fast. By noon, I got a call from Mike at my gym. He sounded almost guilty. Bro, I just thought you should know. Tyler's off the trainer roster. Management said misconduct, but wouldn't say more. I didn't gloat. I didn't need to. I just said, thanks, and hung up. One domino down. By the end of the day, Courtney posted some cryptic, sometimes people break you so you can rebuild yourself quote on Instagram, followed by a selfie where she was clearly trying not to cry. I didn't even flinch. She wanted to play the victim for her little fan base? Let her. But I had the facts. I had the paper trail. I had everything. And she had nothing but a crumbling lie. Later that night, I had dinner with Sophie. Just us, candles, her favorite spaghetti, and a Disney playlist in the background. She smiled, told me about her day, and asked, "Why is Mommy living at Grandma's now?" I paused, not because I didn't know what to say, but because I didn't want to lie to her like Courtney lied to me. Sometimes, people make mistakes, I said gently. Big ones. And when they do, they need time to fix themselves. But no matter what happens, I'll always be here. Always. She nodded, then asked for more garlic bread. After she went to bed, I sat on the couch with a glass of bourbon and read the finalized divorce paperwork for the 10th time. It was clean. Brutal, maybe, but clean. Full custody pending the hearing, financial control secured, house listed under my name only. I had won, but it didn't feel like a victory. Not in the traditional sense. It felt like freedom. Not from her, but from the illusion I had been living in. The story I kept telling myself about loyalty, about sacrifice, about forever being something we could build on a foundation of denial. She was never going to be the woman I thought she was. She never was that woman. She was just better at pretending than most. I used to think love was about fixing broken things, holding on, working through it. But now I knew the truth. Sometimes, love is knowing when to burn the bridge and walk away with your damn dignity intact. A week later, the final blow came. Courtney's lawyer reached out with a settlement suggestion. She wanted partial custody, alimony, and a share of the house sale. I laughed so hard I nearly choked on my coffee. I declined. Officially. Legally. Swiftly. And when she called me, voice shaky, fake sweet, I said only one thing. You chose your freedom, Courtney. You don't get to be shocked when I let go of the rope. Click. I blocked her number. No goodbyes. No drama. Just peace. And God, that peace felt better than any revenge ever could. I wasn't a broken man anymore. I wasn't the betrayed husband. I was just Jason, a father, a fighter, and a man who walked through fire and came out clean. If you're reading this, or hearing it, and you've been where I was, let me say this first. You are not crazy. You are not weak. And you are damn sure not the villain in her twisted version of events. What happened to me wasn't just infidelity. It was betrayal on a level I didn't know I could survive. And the hardest part? It wasn't the lies, or even the image of her in someone else's arms. It was the realization that the person I loved never existed in the way I believed. That'll break a man, but only if he lets it. I didn't. Not because I'm some kind of superhero. Hell no. I cried. I punched a wall. I stared into the mirror wondering if I was enough. But then I stopped asking why she did it, and started asking why I tolerated it for so long. And that's where the shift happened. I used to think being a good man meant being patient, forgiving, steady. And yes, those things matter. but not at the cost of your own soul. You cannot love someone out of being a liar. You cannot protect a woman who's sharpening knives behind your back. And you absolutely cannot build a future with someone who's already rewriting her past to justify her betrayal. The signs were there. Looking back, they were everywhere. The late-night gym sessions. The extra makeup when she was just going to dinner with the girls. The cold distance. The fake affection. The way she always flipped things on me when I questioned anything. How she said, "You're paranoid," when I was simply paying attention. That's what they do, people like Courtney. They gaslight. They manipulate. They play the long game and convince you that you are the problem. But the truth? The truth is simple. She cheated because she wanted to. Because loyalty was a costume she wore, not a value she lived. And once I accepted that, I stopped bleeding. I started healing. Now I wake up every morning knowing I've got my daughter sleeping soundly in the next room. I cook breakfast in a kitchen that no longer feels haunted. I've got plans. Purpose. I'm building something again, something real this time. Do I still feel pain? Sure. Some nights it creeps in like fog. But I let it sit beside me. I don't fight it. I let it remind me of what I survived. Because I'm not ashamed anymore. Courtney didn't break me. She revealed me. She stripped away the illusion. And underneath it all was a man who refuses to be anyone's fool ever again. So, if you're still with a woman who lies to your face and calls it complicated, listen to me carefully. Leave. Don't wait for the final betrayal. Don't keep hoping she'll change. She won't. She'll just get better at hiding it. Walk away with your dignity before she takes that too. You owe yourself peace. You owe your future truth. And you owe your heart the chance to beat in a place where love isn't a weapon. I walked through hell. And now I'm standing in the sun. My name is Jason. And this was the story of how I lost everything I thought I needed. Only to find the man I was always meant to be. The moment I knew something was seriously wrong was when I looked at my phone and saw 153 missed calls from Madison. It was 4:23 a.m. I was sitting alone in my truck, parked near an empty construction site on the edge of town, engine still warm from the night before. My hands were shaking, not from fear, not from guilt, from the adrenaline of what I'd just seen. Troy, the guy my wife was cheating with, was just dragged out of his car by rescue crews. What was left of the car, anyway? His bright red Dodge Charger had been flattened by a bulldozer. In the middle of nowhere. No intersections. No road signs. Just dust, dirt, and 100 yards of tire tracks leading straight into the wreckage. And I knew one thing. That wasn't an accident. Let me back up. Just 2 days ago, I was a normal guy. A boring guy, maybe. Mason Carter, 34, IT manager, homeowner, husband of 5 years. Thought I had a decent life. Maybe too quiet. Maybe too routine, but steady, solid. Then Madison dropped a bomb. She wanted me to sell the house. Not because we were in trouble. No, because she wanted to move her new boyfriend in. Yeah, you read that right. She looked me dead in the eye and said, "You've got a week. I want Troy living here by next weekend." I should have lost it right then. Instead, I smiled and said the dumbest, most dangerous thing I've ever said in my life. "Just try, and you'll see what happens." I don't think she realized I'm in it. So when I came home that night and found moving boxes on the porch, my clothes and trash bags, and Troy drinking beer in my kitchen, I didn't shout. I didn't cry. I just walked out, without a word, and started putting the pieces together. Now he's in the hospital. Or the morgue. I don't know yet. But I do know this. Madison's little fantasy just turned into a nightmare. And it's only getting started. Let me rewind just a little. After I walked out of the house that night, Troy smirking in my doorway, Madison acting like she just won the divorce lottery, I didn't go to a friend's place. I didn't even go to a hotel. I parked my truck 3 blocks away, killed the lights, and watched. I needed to know what I was dealing with. And if I was going to burn my life down, I wanted to know exactly who I was burning with it. That's when I saw the first red flag. Madison came outside with her phone pressed to her ear. She was pacing, talking low, checking the street. She wasn't calling her mom. She wasn't ordering takeout. She was talking to someone else. Someone she didn't want anyone to hear. And then she did something stupid. She bent down to check the mailbox, and when she stood back up, a second phone, a burner, slipped from her back pocket. She picked it up fast, looked around like she'd been caught, then shoved it back down her waistband and went inside. That was my first real clue. She had a second phone, a hidden one, and it wasn't for Candy Crush or discount coupons. Madison barely knew how to reset the Wi-Fi. That burner was for Troy. Or someone else. Maybe more than one someone. Now I knew there was more to this than just cheating. So I made a decision. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to throw hands with Troy. I was going to play quiet, smart, and dangerous. Next day, I showed up at the house while they were gone. I still had a key. She hadn't changed the locks yet. Typical Madison. Loud threats, no follow-through. The house looked different already. She'd rearranged everything. My framed pictures? Off the walls. My books? Dumped into a box labeled garage sale. Even the coffee mugs were changed out. Hers now had Boss Babe printed on them. But the most insulting thing? She kept the bed. Our bed. I checked every room, every drawer, trying to find that second phone. And just when I was about to give up, I found it tucked inside a fake book labeled Self-Love for Modern Women. Real classy. The phone was unlocked. Rookie mistake. I scrolled through the messages and saw conversations not just with Troy, but two other guys. One of them was saving her number as Lana from yoga. The texts? Filthy. Photos. Voice notes. Promises. Things she never said to me in 5 years of marriage. And dates. Scheduled meetups. Places she told me she was going with the girls or staying late for work. Every excuse, every little, "You're just being paranoid," Mason suddenly laid out in plain text. That's when the rage really hit. Not just because she was a liar, but because she had been playing me like a fool for months. And she was so damn proud of it. I took photos of every message, emailed them to myself, and left the burner exactly where I found it. I didn't want her knowing I knew. Not yet. Because now, I wasn't just angry. I was building a case. I left the house the same way I came, silent, steady, focused. That night, Madison texted me. For the first time since our showdown. Madison, hey, if you're still being dramatic, that's on you. But Troy and I are staying. So figure your life out. Figure my life out? She had no idea I was already 10 steps ahead. She didn't know about the screenshots. The lawyer friend I'd contacted. The GPS tracker I'd just stuck under Troy's fancy Dodge. She was playing checkers. I was setting the chessboard on fire. I waited 2 more days before I made my move. By that point, I'd already spoken to a divorce attorney, locked my credit cards, and taken half our joint savings and transferred it to a personal legal account under my name. All while Madison was posting cutesy Instagram stories of her and Troy drinking wine in my living room. She thought I was some broken, whimpering husband sulking in a motel. Truth was, I was plotting every step like a sniper. Quiet, patient, calculated. But even I couldn't have predicted what she'd say when I showed up that night. It was 8:14 p.m. I rang the doorbell like a guest, even though it was still legally my home. Troy answered in a bathrobe. A freaking bathrobe. This guy was parading around in my life like it was a TikTok challenge. "What's up, loser?" He grinned. "Back to grab your Star Wars socks or whatever?" "Where's Madison?" I said. "She's in the kitchen. But if you're gonna cry again, maybe take it outside this time." I pushed past him before he finished. He didn't stop me. Not because he respected me, but because he didn't think I was a threat. He would soon learn how wrong he was. I found her at the kitchen island, eating avocado toast like she was on some kind of influencer detox. Bluetooth speaker playing SZA. Hair tied back. Wearing one of my old t-shirts, cut at the waist like some trashy DIY project. She looked up, totally calm. "Oh, Mason. Thought you were ghosting us." "I know about the burner phone," I said. No preamble. No warm-up. Just straight fire. Her face flickered, barely, but enough to confirm everything. "Oh, that." She actually smirked. "Yeah, I figured you'd find it eventually. Honestly, I kept it as a backup in case you got weird." Guess I was right. I pulled out my phone and tapped the screen. I backed up every message, every photo, every lie. "So go ahead, tell me again how Troy is your one and only." Madison rolled her eyes like I was the one being dramatic. "God, Mason, you're so obsessive. No wonder I had to look elsewhere. You suffocate people." That one line made something in me snap. I wasn't angry. I wasn't even shocked. I was done. "You were screwing 3 different guys while telling me you were at Pilates," I said coldly. "Don't act like this is my fault." She stood up and stepped closer, lowering her voice like she was still in control. "Listen, if you want a clean break, take it. File your little papers. Cry in your truck. But Troy and I are staying. I already talked to a realtor. The house is going up next month. You'll get your half. Don't worry." I couldn't believe the audacity. She didn't just cheat. She replaced me in my own life, And now she was trying to cash me out like some temporary roommate she was done with. And then, cherry on top, she leaned in, smiled, and said, "And by the way, you were never that good at making me feel anything. Troy? He makes me scream without even touching me." That was it. I didn't scream, didn't hit anything. I just smiled and whispered, "You really think this is over?" I turned around, left the kitchen, and walked past Troy without a glance. I could feel their eyes on me as I stepped into the night. But they didn't follow. They had no idea what I was about to do next. And that was the beauty of it. Because from this point on, I stopped playing defense. It was time for them to feel small, used, powerless. Exactly the way they made me feel. The thing about betrayal? It doesn't break you, not if you use it right. It builds a new version of you, sharper, meaner, colder. The guy Madison married? He died the moment she invited her side piece into my house. The man that came after? He came to destroy her from the inside out. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was heartbroken. I was high on planning. There's something dangerous about knowing everything and letting the other person think they're winning. Madison and Troy thought I was crawling through emotional rubble while they popped champagne in my kitchen. Meanwhile, I was building a bomb. Step one was easy, my friend Zach, a licensed PI and former military. He owed me. I called in the favor. I want every move tracked. Where they go. Who they meet. I want their phone records, too. I want to know if she's screwing anyone else. And I want proof, all of it. Zach didn't even blink. Give me 72 hours. While he got to work, I moved on to step 2. I contacted the HOA. The Homeowners Association might sound boring, but when you know how to play it, it's a deadly tool. I filed a complaint against myself, against the property for unauthorized subleasing. Madison had let Troy move in without the legal co-owner's consent. They were now in violation of the HOA bylaws. Strike 1. Then came the utility accounts. Every bill, electric, gas, water, trash was in my name. So I shut them down. Not all at once. No, that would be too kind. I started with the Wi-Fi, then the trash pickup, then the heating. It was winter. Let the house freeze. By day 3, Madison texted me again. "Madison, why is there no internet?" Me, guess the guy who pays for everything left. Enjoy your power couple life. She didn't respond, but I knew the cracks were forming. Troy wasn't built for discomfort. He was built for hookups and free beer. Not for dealing with no hot water and a freezing girlfriend who spent more time on her phone than talking to him. Zach sent me a file the next morning. GPS logs. Photos. Audio recordings. Turns out, Troy had a second girl on the side. Blonde. Early 20s. Met her at the gym. He was sneaking out midday while Madison was working from home. Talk about poetic justice. The cherry on top? Madison's texts to the other 2 guys hadn't stopped. She was still running her little side circus even with Troy in the house. One guy sent her $400 for groceries after she told him I kicked her out. Another sent her a voice note at 1:12 a.m. whispering, "You're the best thing that ever happened to me." She was playing all of them like poker chips, until I stacked the deck against her. Now, I had everything. Proof of her cheating. Violation of HOA rules. Troy's cheating. Her lying to multiple men for money. I had screenshots, surveillance, even audio of her mocking me and calling me the backup plan in case things went south with Troy. Oh, and step 3? I had a friend in real estate call her anonymously and offer to buy the house, cash, above market rate, but only if both homeowners signed. She fell for it. Bit hard. Messaged me that night like I was still her little lapdog. "Madison, hey, maybe we don't need to fight so much. We could both walk away with good money." I didn't answer. She was desperate. She didn't know the storm was just beginning. By the end of the week, the house was a war zone. Not because I showed up swinging, no. I didn't even go near the place. I let the pressure build from the inside. Let them fight each other while I pulled strings from a distance. And boy, did they turn on each other fast. Zach's last update hit my inbox like a gift-wrapped nuke. Audio footage of Troy losing it on Madison. The guy who walked around in robes, drinking my whiskey like he was on vacation. He snapped. "I didn't sign up for this *T, Maddie. You said you were done with that loser. And now you're texting other dudes? Who the hell is Ryan?" Madison, always calm when she's in control, fired back like venom. "Don't talk to me about lying. You've been sneaking off to bang that CrossFit Barbie and coming back smelling like cheap perfume. That was all I needed. I sent the audio to myself, clipped it, and saved it for court. Then I leaked it, anonymously to one of Madison's little sugar texting side pieces, the one who sent her $400. He went full FBI and started messaging her nonstop, threatening to expose everything. Said he wanted his money back. Said he was going to show her messages to her parents. Said he'd come to the house. And he did. I got the notification from Zach's GPS tracker that some dude showed up at the house at 11:47 p.m. pounding on the front door, yelling. Neighbors called security. Police were involved. And I was watching the entire thing unfold from my hotel suite, glass of bourbon in hand. The next morning, Madison's Instagram went dark. Her phone, according to Zach, was turned off for 12 hours. She was in hiding. The fire had officially started burning through the walls. But I wasn't done yet. Monday morning, I walked into the courthouse and filed for divorce. With everything. The burner phone evidence, the GPS logs, audio clips, HOA violations, her fraudulent use of joint funds to buy crap for her boy toy. The lawyer smiled like he was watching a soap opera play out in real time. You're going to walk out of this clean, he said. And if she fights it, we'll bury her. That night, I sent Madison a message. Cold, plain, and final. Me, divorce filed. All evidence submitted. I suggest you check your email before trying to sell the house again. She didn't reply. But Troy did. From a new number. Troy, you think you're smart? Huh? You're gonna regret this. I just texted back. I already regret shaking your hand. Apparently, Troy was now locked out of his own apartment. Turns out he broke his lease when he moved in with Madison. And when the utilities in my house got cut again, yep, I pulled the plug a second time for unpaid transfer fees. He had no heat, no water, and no patience. By Thursday, he was gone. Left her. Took his clothes. Trashed the guest bathroom on the way out. Classy to the end. And Madison? Oh, she finally reached out. Madison, Mason, can we please talk? Just once. Face to face. I'm sorry about everything. No emojis this time. No attitude. Just panic. I didn't respond. Because when someone throws a grenade into your life and acts shocked when it explodes, you don't hand them a bandage. You hand them the pin. It was raining when she showed up. Of course it was. Poetic as hell. Like the universe wanted to make sure she looked pathetic when she came crawling back. Wet hair, makeup running, standing outside the hotel like she was Juliet and I was still dumb enough to play Romeo. But I wasn't. I watched her from the window for a few minutes. She looked up, scanning the windows, phone clutched in one hand. Hoodie up like she was trying to hide from herself. She wasn't even wearing shoes, just slippers. That told me everything. She didn't plan this. She was desperate. She buzzed the front desk. I picked up the phone. She says she's your wife, the receptionist said. Tell her to wait in the lobby. I'll come down when I'm ready. I made her sit there for 20 minutes. Then I walked down calm, composed, cleaner than she'd ever seen me. New jacket. Shaved. No bags under my eyes. I made sure she saw that I looked better without her. She stood up fast, eyes glassy. Mason. I held up a hand. Lobby only. 5 minutes. Talk. She opened her mouth and nothing came out at first. Then she did that thing she always did when caught, tilted her head and twisted the story like she was the victim. I messed up, she said quietly. I was in a dark place. You weren't there emotionally, and I didn't know how to tell you. I laughed. Couldn't help it. You cheated on me with 3 guys and tried to sell our house behind my back. That's not a dark place, Madison. That's being a trash human. Her face cracked. I didn't mean for it to go that far with Troy. He made me feel alive. And then it got complicated. I didn't know how to stop. You didn't want to stop. She hesitated. That silence was everything. She knew it. I knew it. And now she stood there, shivering in hotel lobby lighting, trying to stitch together a life she set on fire. I want to fix it, she whispered. I've been thinking. Maybe we don't have to end it like this. I could go to therapy. You and I, we used to laugh so much. You were my best friend. Then why did you treat me like your enemy? I asked. She blinked. I read the messages, I said, stepping closer, voice low. Everyone. He's boring. He's soft. I fake it every time. You humiliated me, Madison. Not just behind closed doors publicly. You let that clown walk into my house like he owned it. Slept in my bed. Drank my liquor. You sent nudes to strangers while I was at work building the life you spit on. Tears started falling. Big, dramatic, probably real. But I didn't flinch. You're not sorry you did it, I said. You're sorry you got caught. You're sorry it didn't work out. She reached out to touch my hand. I stepped back. Do you love me? She asked, voice cracking. I did. And now? I don't even recognize you. Then I turned and walked away. She didn't follow, didn't scream, didn't beg, just stood there, shoulders shaking like she finally realized something. She lost. Not just the house. Not just the divorce. She lost the one person who really loved her. And she handed him away for cheap thrills and a loser in gym shorts. I walked back up to my room, closed the door behind me, and smiled. It was over. But I wasn't done just yet. The courtroom wasn't dramatic. No music. No explosions. Just cold air, stiff suits, and the sound of Madison tapping her fake nails against the bench like she was bored. But I wasn't there to entertain her. I was there to end her reign. She walked in wearing a beige pantsuit like she was the injured party. Hair curled. Makeup flawless. The audacity of that woman, to walk into a courtroom she dragged us both into, still thinking she had a shot at walking out with the upper hand. My lawyer, slick, confident, calm, opened with the facts. No theatrics, just clean execution. Your Honor, we will be submitting the following into evidence: a secondary, undisclosed mobile phone used to coordinate extramarital relationships with not one, but 3 different individuals over a span of 6 months. We also have audio files, provided legally by a third-party investigator, revealing further deceit and financial manipulation by the respondent. Madison's lawyer tried to object. Something about privacy and emotional distress. Didn't matter. The judge waved him off like a fly. Then came the photos. Screenshots of her text with Troy and the other 2 guys. Messages where she laughed about milking Mason dry before ghosting him once the sale goes through. Oh yeah, she actually wrote that. I watched her face go from smug to gray. And then my lawyer pulled out the final card, the HOA violations. This document here, Your Honor, shows that the respondent unlawfully moved another individual into the shared home without written consent of the co-owner, which directly violates the contractual agreement signed by both parties upon purchase. Is the individual in question present in court today? The judge asked. Troy was sitting in the back, trying to look invisible. He raised a hand like a scared student. Step forward, the judge said. Troy shuffled to the front like a man walking to his own funeral. Sweat on his forehead. He looked at Madison like she was supposed to save him. She didn't even glance his way. Mr. Troy Daniels, is it? The judge said. Are you currently residing in the property in question? Troy stammered. I was, yeah, not anymore. Were you, at any point, paying rent or under any legal agreement to occupy the home? No, sir. That was it. The judge had enough. Based on the overwhelming evidence, including financial manipulation, infidelity, and unauthorized occupation of the marital residence, I am ruling in favor of Mr. Carter. Full ownership of the property is awarded to him. Furthermore, the respondent is to vacate the premises within 7 days, and she is not entitled to alimony or financial support of any kind due to gross misconduct. Boom. No screaming. No outbursts. Just the sound of Madison's soul leaving her body. She tried to speak, to salvage something. Your Honor, I made mistakes, but I was under emotional duress and The judge cut her off with a wave. Court is adjourned. I didn't even look at her as I walked out. Troy didn't follow her. He stayed sitting in the back row, head down like someone had finally pulled the curtain off his delusion. Outside the courtroom, Madison caught up to me. Her voice was hoarse. Mason, please. I don't have anywhere to go. I kept walking. I thought I had time, she said, grabbing my arm. I didn't think you'd actually. I turned, looked her dead in the eyes, and said, That's the problem, Madison. You never thought. You just used. Then I stepped into my car, shut the door, and drove away with the windows down and peace playing in the background. She wanted a game. She got played. It's been 3 months since the court slammed the door shut on Madison. 3 months since I walked back into my house, alone, and finally at peace. The first time I stepped inside after the ruling, it felt like walking into someone else's life. The air was different. The silence wasn't heavy anymore. It was clean, quiet in the kind of way that doesn't echo with betrayal. There were little reminders of her everywhere, lip gloss on the bathroom mirror, that fake plant she swore made the kitchen cozy, an old hoodie of mine she had chopped and worn like it belonged to her. I tossed it all in black bags and left them on the curb. She came by once. I didn't let her in. She stood on the sidewalk like she was waiting for the world to rewind. Her eyes were red, hair tangled. She wasn't the perfect Instagram version of herself anymore. She looked real. Raw. But it was too damn late for real. I cracked the door just wide enough for her to see my face. She didn't even try her old tricks this time. I'm not here to fight, she said softly. Good, I replied. She glanced down at the steps. I wanted to say I'm sorry. For everything. You didn't deserve it. Any of it. I didn't speak. She kept going. I thought I needed excitement. I thought I was missing something. But I was just running away from being a decent human being. You gave me everything, and I spit on it. She looked up. You probably hate me. I shook my head. No. Her eyes lit up just a little. Like maybe she thought there was still a crack in the door. I don't hate you, I said. But I don't feel anything anymore. And that's worse. I shut the door. That was the last time I saw her. Now, I work out every morning. I make real breakfast. I go on long walks in the evening just because I can. And I sleep better than I have in years. I even started talking to someone new, a girl named Kara. Met her at a coffee shop. She didn't ask what I did for a living. She asked what I liked. First time in forever, I wasn't just someone's provider or safety net. She laughed like she meant it, looked me in the eye when I spoke, and didn't check her phone once. I'm taking it slow. No expectations. No pressure. But for the first time in a long time, I feel like a man, not some background character in someone else's fantasy. I look back now and see exactly where I went wrong. I tolerated too much. I mistook disrespect for mood swings. I called her selfishness, independence. I let red flags slide because I didn't want to be that husband, the paranoid one, the overreactor. But now I know, real love doesn't make you doubt yourself. So here's what I'd say to anyone in my shoes. If someone starts treating you like you're replaceable, make it easy for them to test that theory. Don't beg. Don't bargain. Don't break. Just disappear from their story and start writing your own. Madison thought she could blow up our life and still keep the pretty parts. She learned the hard way. You don't get to burn the bridge and still cross it later. Now, I'm free. And that freedom tastes better than any revenge ever could.
I never thought I'd see my wife's name in another man's phone next to words that made my stomach turn. But there it was. A message. Last night was insane. Still thinking about you. Sent just hours ago. While she was in our bed. With me. My hands shook as I scrolled. Message after message. Flirty. Dirty. Shameless. And then I saw it, the worst one. He's so predictable. So weak. He still thinks I'm some perfect little wife. Faced with years of joy. My chest tightened. My breathing slowed. Weak? I heard the shower running upstairs. She had no idea I knew. And in that moment I made a decision. I wasn't just going to confront her. I was going to let her bury herself. I put the phone back exactly where it was, my hands still shaking. My mind was spinning, my pulse hammering in my ears. Upstairs, the shower shut off. I heard the curtain slide open, the soft shuffle of her feet against the bathroom tiles. She had no idea. No idea that the game was over. No idea that I was about to flip the whole damn board. I took a deep breath, forcing my face into something neutral. I couldn't let her see it. Not yet. Olivia walked into the bedroom wrapped in a towel, her wet hair dripping onto her shoulders. She grabbed her phone without even looking at me. The screen lit up in her hands. Another message. She smirked. My jaw clenched. I watched as her fingers typed something, fast, effortless, like she'd done it 1,000 times before. Probably because she had. Why are you staring at me like that? She said without looking up, still scrolling. I forced a chuckle, shaking my head. Just thinking how lucky I am. She finally glanced up at me, one perfectly sculpted brow raised. Well, obviously. The arrogance. The sheer, unapologetic cockiness. She had no idea. She tossed her phone onto the bed and walked past me like I wasn't even there, heading to the closet. My eyes followed her, studying every movement. Every little thing that had once been familiar, comforting, was now twisted into something ugly. I thought about all the nights I stayed up waiting for her. All the times I defended her when my friends joked about her staying out late, her phone glued to her hand. I thought about every little lie she'd told, every excuse, every fake smile. And now I had proof. My hands balled into fists. I could confront her right now. Throw the phone in her face. Watch her squirm. Watch her try to explain her way out of this. But no. That was too easy. She thought she was smarter than me. Thought she had me wrapped around her little finger. I wanted to see how far she'd go. So I sat on the edge of the bed and watched her get dressed like nothing was wrong. She hummed to herself, flipping through outfits like she didn't have a care in the world. Going out? I asked casually. She barely spared me a glance. Yeah, dinner with Stephanie. Stephanie. The human alibi. I almost laughed. The audacity. The disrespect. I stood up, walking toward her, standing just close enough to see the way her pulse ticked at her throat. "You look amazing," I said, my voice smooth, steady. "Wear that red dress. The one I like." She hesitated. Just for a second. Just enough for me to catch it. Then she smirked again, turning back to the mirror. "You do have good taste." I kissed her cheek, my lips barely touching her skin. "Have fun, babe." She grabbed her purse and phone, gave me one last glance, then walked out the door like she hadn't just spent the last 24 hours tangled up with another man. The second I heard her car pull out of the driveway, I grabbed my keys. I wasn't staying home tonight. It was time to meet Nathan. I followed her. She had no idea. Her car turned down the highway and I kept my distance, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. The rage inside me was pulsing, boiling, but I kept it under control. I needed to see it with my own eyes. I needed to watch her walk into another man's arms, knowing she still thought she had me fooled. 15 minutes later, she pulled into the parking lot of an upscale hotel. Not a bar. Not a restaurant. A damn hotel. My stomach twisted, but I kept my face blank, my hands steady. She stepped out of the car, adjusting her dress, checking her reflection in the window. The way she smoothed her hair, fixed her lipstick, it was all for him. Not for me. I parked across the street and watched as she walked straight to the entrance, her heels clicking against the pavement like a countdown to the end of everything. A few seconds later, a man appeared from inside. Tall, well-dressed, smirking like he already owned her. Nathan. She grinned, her entire face lighting up in a way I hadn't seen in years. Like she was excited. Alive. Then she leaned in and kissed him. Not a quick peck. Not a hesitant glance around to see if anyone was watching. No shame. No hesitation. Her arms wrapped around his neck, his hands slid down her waist, and they melted into each other like they'd done it 100 times before. I tasted bile in my throat. I could have stormed across the street right then. Could have grabbed him by the collar, could have made a scene. But no. That wasn't enough. I pulled out my phone and snapped a picture. 1, 2, 3. Her arms around his neck. His hands gripping her hips. Her eyes closed, completely lost in him. Evidence. I sat there, gripping my phone so tightly my fingers ached. This was it. The moment my marriage ended. The moment everything I thought I had, everything I thought was real, was shattered. They walked inside together, laughing. Like nothing else in the world mattered. I exhaled slowly. I had a choice. I could go home, pretend I never saw it, let her come back with another excuse. Or I could burn everything down. I chose the second option. I waited, watching the entrance. 10 minutes passed. Then 20. My hands didn't stop shaking. My heartbeat was a hammer in my chest. And then I made the call. She didn't answer. Of course, she didn't. So I sent the picture. No words. No explanation. Just the proof. 2 minutes later, my phone buzzed. A message from her. "Logan, I can explain." I smirked. Let her try. I didn't respond. I wanted her to feel it. The panic. The desperation. The same damn feeling I had when I saw her in his arms. The typing bubbles appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. She was scrambling. Trying to find the right lie, the right excuse. My phone rang. I let it ring. Then another message. "Please. Just talk to me." I leaned back in my seat, watching the hotel entrance. She wasn't coming out. She wasn't running to explain herself. She was still up there with him, knowing she'd been caught, knowing I had proof, and still choosing to stay. That told me everything I needed to know. I started the car. My mind was clear now. Cold. Calculated. If she thought I was just going to sit at home and wait for her to crawl back with some pathetic excuse, she was dead wrong. As I drove, my phone kept buzzing. Calls. More texts. I ignored them all. By the time I pulled into the driveway, I already knew what I was going to do. I walked inside, straight to her bedroom. Opened her closet. Pulled out her suitcase. Another call. This time I answered. Her voice was shaky. "Logan, ew. Don't say a word." My voice was steady. Too steady. "You have until morning to get your things and get out." A beat of silence. Then a nervous laugh. "Wait, babe, please, just listen." I hung up. The doorbell rang. I turned my head sharply. She couldn't be here already. Not unless she had run out of that hotel the second she realized I wasn't playing games. I walked to the door, heart pounding, expecting to see her. Expecting her to try to beg, to lie, to twist things around. But when I opened it, it wasn't Olivia. It was Nathan. Smirking. Like this was some kind of joke. I didn't hesitate. My fist connected with his jaw before he could even get a word out. His head snapped back and he stumbled, catching himself against the porch railing. You must be Logan, he muttered, rubbing his jaw, still smiling like the smug bastard he was. You must be stupid, I shot back. He chuckled, straightening up, wiping blood from his lip. She told me you had a temper. Guess she wasn't lying about that. I clenched my jaw. What the hell do you want? He shrugged. Just thought I'd come over and clear the air. Olivia's on her way here, by the way. I laughed, shaking my head. You seriously think I give a damn? He tilted his head. If you didn't, you wouldn't have answered the door. I wanted to hit him again. I wanted to break his face, make him feel even a fraction of what I was feeling. But I wasn't about to lose my cool. Not over him. Not over her. I exhaled, stepping back. Get off my property. His smirk widened. Come on, man. Let's be real here. You knew she was bored, didn't you? You saw it coming. Women like Olivia don't stay with guys like you forever. I moved so fast he barely had time to react. 1 second, he was standing there, talking shit. The next, he was pinned against the wall, my forearm pressing hard against his throat. Say one more word, I said, voice low, deadly. See what happens. His smirk finally faltered. A car pulled up. Olivia. She stepped out, eyes wide, hair a mess, looking like she had just been through hell. Logan, stop, she yelled, running toward us. I let go of Nathan and stepped back. He coughed, adjusting his collar, but he wasn't smiling anymore. Olivia grabbed my arm. Can we just talk? Please? I looked down at her. Really looked at her. The woman I had loved. The woman I had trusted. The woman who had been in some damn hotel room with another man just an hour ago. And now she was standing here, acting like there was anything left to say. I yanked my arm away. Your stuff is inside. Take it and go. Her lips parted, eyes filling with fake tears. You don't mean that. Nathan chuckled behind me. Told you, babe. He's not gonna. I turned on him so fast he actually flinched. I swear to God, if you say one more word, you'll leave here in a damn ambulance. That shut him up. Olivia reached for my hand. Please, Logan? Just let me explain. I stepped back. Explain? You mean lie? Like you did every single time you walked out that door, every single time you looked me in the eye and told me you loved me. She shook her head, her bottom lip trembling. It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that. Her eyes darted to Nathan, then back to me. It was a mistake. I laughed. Laughed. A cold, empty sound. A mistake? A mistake is forgetting an anniversary. A mistake is buying the wrong milk. You don't accidentally F*** someone else for months. She opened her mouth, then closed it. She had nothing. No excuses left. No lies to twist around me. I took a step back, motioning to the door. Get your shit. Get out. Nathan smirked. Come on, babe. Let's go. She didn't move. She stood there, looking at me like she actually expected me to break. To forgive. She was insane. I turned and walked inside, slamming the door behind me. I stood there for a long time, listening. After a few minutes, I heard footsteps. Heard the sound of her grabbing things, stuffing them into her suitcase. No more words. No more please. Then the door opened. And just like that, she was gone. I let out a breath. My whole body was shaking, but I felt lighter. Empty, but lighter. I walked to the kitchen, grabbed a beer, and sat down. For the first time in a long time, I was alone. And for the first time in a long time, I was okay with that. The silence felt different now. It wasn't heavy. It wasn't suffocating. It was just there. No more fake laughter from across the room. No more half-hearted excuses. No more pretending. I took a long sip of my beer, letting the cold bitterness settle on my tongue. My hands weren't shaking anymore. The storm had passed. My phone buzzed on the table. I stared at it for a moment before picking it up. A message from Olivia. I know you hate me right now. I know I get up. But I swear to you, Logan, I never meant to hurt you. I exhaled slowly. She still didn't get it. She still thought this was about some emotional mistake. That I was just some wounded puppy licking my wounds, waiting for her to throw me a bone. I typed back. You didn't mean to hurt me. You just didn't care if you did. I hit send and tossed the phone onto the table. No reply. Good. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the ceiling. My mind was replaying the last few months, every little red flag I had ignored, every gut feeling I had pushed down. The late nights. The sudden phone privacy. The way she would pick fights over nothing just so she could storm out of the house. It had all been leading to this. And I had been blind. But not anymore. A knock at the door. I tensed. My first thought was that she had come back. That she wasn't done spinning her web. I pushed my chair back, walked to the door, and pulled it open. It wasn't Olivia. It was Stephanie. Her best friend. The one she had always used as an excuse. She looked nervous, shifting on her feet, her hands gripping the strap of her purse. "Hey, Logan," she said quietly. I narrowed my eyes. "What are you doing here?" She glanced over her shoulder like she was making sure Olivia wasn't lurking somewhere. Then she sighed. "I needed to talk to you." I crossed my arms. "About what?" Her lips pressed together. "About Olivia. And Nathan. And everything." Something in my chest tightened. "What about them?" She hesitated, then looked me straight in the eye. "She's been lying to you about a lot more than just him." The words hung in the air, thick and heavy. My stomach twisted. I should have told her to leave. Should have shut the door, walked away. But I didn't. I stepped back. "Come in." She nodded and walked inside, and as I shut the door behind her, I already knew. The betrayal I thought I had uncovered was only the surface. The real truth was worse. So much worse. Stephanie sat on the couch, hands clasped together, tapping her foot like she was debating whether to even say what she had come here to say. I leaned against the kitchen counter, arms crossed, watching her. My patience was thin. I wasn't in the mood for another round of half-truths and fake sympathy. "Just say it," I muttered. She took a deep breath. "Olivia's been cheating on you for a lot longer than you think." I stared at her. The words should have hit harder, but I was already too numb. "How long?" I asked, my voice hollow. Stephanie hesitated. "At least a year." "A year?" I let out a slow, bitter laugh. "Right? And you knew the whole time?" Her face twisted with guilt. "I didn't at first. I swear. But when I did, I didn't know how to tell you. I thought she would stop." She kept saying she would stop. I shook my head, pushing off the counter. "She didn't stop, Stephanie. She just got better at lying." She flinched. "I know. And I should have told you sooner, but I was scared she cut herself off, biting her lip." I caught that. "She'd what?" Stephanie looked away. My pulse ticked up. "Say it." She exhaled sharply. "She said you wouldn't believe me. That she could turn it around on me. Make me look like the liar. And honestly, I think she was right. You loved her so much, Logan. You wouldn't have believed it." I clenched my jaw. The worst part was she wasn't wrong. A year ago, if Stephanie had come to me with this, I probably would have defended Olivia. Probably would have convinced myself that my wife would never do something like that. "Yeah?" Now I felt like an idiot. Stephanie shifted uncomfortably. "Nathan wasn't the first, Logan. She's been with other guys. I don't know how many, but it wasn't just him." Something in my chest twisted. I already knew Olivia was a liar. I knew she was capable of sneaking around behind my back, looking me in the eye and feeding me a straight-up fairy tale while she was running around with another man. But multiple men? That was something else entirely. I ran a hand through my hair, exhaling through my nose. "You should have told me anyway." She nodded, looking down. "I know." Silence stretched between us. The weight of it was suffocating. After a moment, she sighed. "I'm really sorry, Logan. I know that probably doesn't mean much, but I am." I stared at her, trying to figure out if I believed her. If she was just here to ease her own guilt, or if she actually gave a damn about what I was going through. Then she spoke again. "There's something else you should know." I didn't even react. At this point, I was past being surprised. "Of course there is." She hesitated, then pulled her phone out of her bag. "I don't think she ever planned to tell you the truth. Even when she knew she was caught. She's been planning something else." She scrolled for a second, then turned the phone toward me. It was a screenshot of a message. "Olivia, if he finds out, I'll just flip it on him. He'll believe whatever I say. He's too soft to do anything about it anyway." I felt something inside me snap. Even after everything, she thought she could still manipulate me. That I was soft. That she could turn this around and walk away clean. I met Stephanie's gaze, my voice calm, steady. She has no idea who she's messing with. Stephanie watched me carefully. "What are you gonna do?" I picked up my phone, scrolling through my camera roll until I found the picture I took outside the hotel. Olivia in Nathan's arms kissing him like she didn't have a husband waiting for her at home. I smirked. She wanted a game. "Let's play." I sent the picture. No words. No explanation. Just cold, hard proof. A few seconds later, the typing bubbles appeared. Then disappeared. Then appeared again. Then my phone rang. I let it ring twice before answering. Her voice was shaky. "Logan, please." I didn't say a word. Just let the silence sit there, stretching out, suffocating. She took a deep breath. "I don't know what you think you saw, but it's not what it looks like." I almost laughed. "Not what it looks like. You're in his arms, Olivia. You're kissing him. Should I believe you tripped and fell onto his lips?" She exhaled sharply. "It was a mistake. I was drunk." I cut her off. "Save it. I know everything. I know about the other men. I know this has been going on for over a year. I know you plan to flip this on me, make me look like the bad guy. Silence. Then her tone shifted. Colder. Sharper. Who told you that? I smirked. Does it matter? Stephanie, right? Her voice was dripping with venom now. That jealous little b*********h. I knew she'd pull something like this. I shook my head. Wow. Even now you can't take responsibility. You're not even sorry. You're just mad you got caught. She scoffed. Oh, give me a break, Logan. You act like you were some perfect husband. Newsflash, you were boring. Predictable. Always in your own little world. I needed more. I felt my grip tighten on the phone, my pulse pounding. She wasn't even trying to deny it anymore. I let out a breath. You done? She hesitated. I don't want things to end like this. I chuckled. You mean you don't want to lose? You thought you could lie your way out of this like you always do. But not this time, Olivia. We're done. You're done. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Logan, please? We can fix this. I almost admired her dedication to the act. But it was too late. I walked to the front door and opened it. Olivia's suitcase was still sitting in the entryway exactly where I had left it. I stepped outside and tossed it onto the porch with a heavy thud. You've got 5 minutes to come get your ***T, I said flatly. After that, I'm throwing it in the street. Logan, ew. I hung up. Stephanie was watching me from the couch, arms crossed. That went well? I smirked. She's on her way. You sticking around? She hesitated, then shook her head. No. I don't think she'd take that well. Fair enough. She grabbed her purse and headed for the door, pausing before stepping out. For what it's worth. I hope you make her pay for this. I nodded. Oh, I will. She left and I stood there in the doorway waiting. 10 minutes later, Olivia's car screeched into the driveway. She got out, slamming the door so hard the windows shook. She marched up the steps, her face twisted in fury. You really threw my stuff outside like I'm some random ***E? I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. Aren't you? Her eyes burned with anger. You're gonna regret this, Logan. I smirked. No, Olivia. You are. She grabbed her suitcase, muttering curses under her breath, then turned back to me one last time. You're a fool. No woman will ever put up with you like I did. I just smiled. That's the point. She stormed off, throwing her suitcase into the car and speeding away. I watched her go, exhaling slowly. And just like that, I was free. The house felt different the second she was gone. Lighter. Quieter. Not the kind of quiet that presses on your chest and makes you feel alone. No, this was different. It was peaceful. I walked back inside, shutting the door behind me. No more waiting up at night, wondering where she was. No more second-guessing myself, questioning if I was just being paranoid. No more Olivia. My phone buzzed. I sighed, expecting another pathetic attempt from her. But it wasn't. Stephanie. She's gonna try something. Be ready. I raised an eyebrow. I didn't respond, but I knew she was right. Olivia wasn't the type to just accept a loss and move on. She was calculating, manipulative, always thinking 10 steps ahead. I poured myself another drink, letting the ice clink against the glass. Whatever she had planned, she'd learned the hard way that I wasn't the same man she had spent years controlling. She was about to find out exactly what happens when you push someone too far. I sat down, stretched my legs out, and smirked. For the first time in a long time, I was looking forward to the future.
There she was, Emily, standing in the corner of the rooftop bar, her golden hair catching the city lights like a goddamn halo. Too bad angels don't whisper filth like she did. I heard her before I even saw her, leaning in close to Mike, her ex from college, her voice slicing through the night like a knife into my ribs. Tonight, panties will be useless for Mike and me, she giggled, low and wicked, like it was their dirty little joke. She wasn't wearing a damn thing under that short black skirt. I knew it before she even confirmed it with that whisper. She'd slipped out of our home, past the kids' photos on the walls, past the vows we exchanged, past me, her idiot of a husband, to meet him. Then it happened. She grabbed his hand. Right there. Right in front of me. As if I didn't exist. As if I was just some invisible fool standing in the crowd. Mike smirked like a king, and she looked at me with a flicker of something in her eyes. Pity? Mockery? Lust? Maybe all three. And then, with all the grace of a cheap drama queen, she turned away, pulling him toward the elevator like some prized trophy. I acted blind. I smiled. I let her think she won. That was the moment everything shifted inside me, like a calm before the bloodiest storm you could ever imagine. Because what Emily didn't know was that the real show was just getting started. I let them have their little meeting. I gave them time to laugh, to flirt, to plan all the ways they were going to betray me tonight. I gave Emily the rope, enough rope to hang herself 1,000 times over. Then I crashed their little party. Not with fists, not with screaming, with a smile that scared even me. I walked right up to their cozy little corner table like I was another drunken idiot looking for a cigarette. Mike froze, hand halfway up Emily's thigh under the tablecloth. She stiffened but didn't pull away. No, not my Emily. She leaned in closer to him, daring me, daring us all to see how much of AB*TCH she could be. Mind if I join you? I said casually, pulling out a chair. Mike's face turned the color of sour milk. Emily just gave that little smirk she always wore when she thought she was 2 moves ahead. We were just leaving, she said, brushing her lips against Mike's ear in a way that made my stomach clench. Mike's got plans for me. Plans. She said it like she was talking about going bowling, not letting another man take her apart in a hotel room. I let it slide. For now. Because tonight wasn't about saving a marriage. It wasn't about begging or crying. It wasn't even about revenge. It was about demolition. Piece by piece. Emily thought she had one. She thought I'd cry, chase her, beg for an explanation that she'd twist and lie through. She had no damn idea. I was about to destroy everything she thought was hers, slowly, perfectly, without even raising my voice. And it all started with a toast. To old friends and new beginnings, I said, raising an invisible glass, my eyes locked on hers. Emily laughed, that fake, syrupy laugh she used on clueless men at parties. She leaned back into Mike's shoulder like she already forgot I existed. Good. The bigger the fall, the louder the scream. I watched them leave together, her hips swinging like she was putting on a show just for me. She didn't even turn back. That's when I knew she was already dead to me. She just didn't know it yet. The night they disappeared into that black SUV, I already knew where they were headed. The Langston Hotel. She made it easy. She booked it on our joint credit card like a slap across my face. As if she wanted to get caught. As if she wanted me to suffer every damn second she spent betraying me. I didn't follow them. I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of a jealous husband chasing her like some soap opera clown. No. I waited. I plotted. At home, the house felt different. Colder. The silence was heavier than ever. I sat in our bedroom, my bedroom, and the smell of her perfume still clung to the air. That sweet, fake vanilla scent she'd sprayed on her thighs before running into another man's arms. I noticed things I never noticed before. The jewelry box, half empty. The nightstand, open, condoms missing. Her favorite red lipstick, smeared on the edge of the bathroom sink. Like a crime scene left for me to solve. A part of me wanted to smash everything. Tear it all apart. Another part of me, the smarter, colder part, told me to stay sharp. Because this wasn't about rage anymore. It was about winning. I opened her laptop. She never changed the password. Her stupidity was a gift. There it was, her secret life spread out like a roadmap to humiliation. Hundreds of messages. Pictures. Videos. Mike sending her shirtless photos like some desperate frat boy. Emily sending back shots of her legs stretched out in the passenger seat of his car. No underwear in sight. Captioned, "Panties are overrated when I'm with you, smiling face with horns." I didn't flinch. Not anymore. I saved everything. I made copies. Flash drives, cloud backups, hidden folders. Evidence. If she thought she could toss me aside and take half of everything I built, she was dumber than I ever imagined. By the time I finished digging, I knew her entire schedule for the next week. Every sleazy hotel meetup, every phony excuse she'd rehearsed. Yoga class? Nope. Mike's apartment. Work conference? Try motel on 45th Street. Girls' night out? Sure, if girls' night involved backseat activities and whispered lies. Each discovery was like another shovel of dirt on the coffin of whatever love I used to have for her. Still, I waited. I needed the perfect moment. And that moment was coming. The next morning, Emily waltzed back in at 9 a.m., heels in hand, her hair a tangled mess of triumph. She didn't even look ashamed. She didn't even pretend. "Rough night," she said with a fake yawn, tossing her purse onto the couch. I stared at her. At the woman I married. At the stranger wearing her face. She flashed me a tired little smile, kissed me on the cheek like she was some busy wife returning from an exhausting meeting, and disappeared into the shower. I heard her humming, while Mike's fingerprints were probably still fresh on her skin. Something broke inside me in that moment, but not in the way she expected. It wasn't sadness. It wasn't even rage. It was freedom. I finally saw her for what she was, a parasite wrapped in satin sheets and sweet perfume. A liar who thought she was untouchable. And God help her, because she had no clue what was coming. I looked at the flash drive sitting on the table, black and innocuous. It held every filthy secret she'd tried to hide. Every betrayal. Every cheap thrill. It was more than evidence. It was a weapon. And I was about to use it with surgical precision. The confrontation wasn't going to happen in our house. No, that was too easy. Too small for the size of the betrayal she had built. I wanted an audience. I waited until Saturday, the day Emily planned her little brunch with friends. The same friends who smiled at me while covering up her lies. The same snakes who toasted us on our anniversary and whispered about me behind their champagne glasses. I let her pick out her dress, tight, red, the one she wore on our first date. The irony would have been poetic if it didn't make me sick. "You sure you don't mind if I head out?" she asked, tilting her head, pretending to be sweet. "I insist," I said, smiling like a man watching a house burn down. She giggled, kissed my cheek again, habit, not affection, and disappeared into the Uber waiting outside. I followed 5 minutes later. Not like a jealous fool. Like a man going to war. The brunch was at the Glass House, some new overpriced place downtown. I walked in like I belonged there, flash drive tucked safely in my pocket. And there she was. Center table. Center of attention. Laughing too loud. Flipping her hair. Basking in the spotlight like the queen of her own little kingdom. Mike wasn't far, leaning against the bar, nursing a beer, waiting for her signal. God, they were sloppy. Perfect. I walked up to the table. Emily spotted me first. Her smile faltered for a second, just a flash, then returned. She leaned back, arms crossed, like she was daring me to make a scene. I didn't. I pulled out my phone, connected it to the restaurant's open Bluetooth system. One click. That's all it took. The screen on the wall, meant for artsy slideshows and drink menus, lit up with her secrets. Text messages. Pictures. Videos. Everything. Frozen silence fell across the room like a guillotine. The first image was a photo of her and Mike, laughing in bed, her red lipstick smudged across his throat. The second, her text, "Best night ever. No panties needed," winking face. Then the video. 30 seconds of her sitting on his lap, whispering things that should have been burned before ever being spoken. The crowd gasped. Someone dropped a glass. Mike went pale. Emily. God bless her, she tried to fake it. "What the hell is this?" she barked, standing so fast her chair skidded back. "You tell me," I said, folding my arms. She looked around, at her friends, at the staff, at Mike, searching for someone to save her. No one moved. They just watched. Watched the queen fall off her throne. "You're a psycho," she screamed, pointing at me like she could erase everything flashing behind her with one word. "No, Emily," I said, voice low. Calm. Deadly. "I'm just the man you thought was too stupid to notice." She slapped me. Right there. In front of everyone. A loud, desperate crack across my face. But I didn't even blink. I smiled. And that scared her more than anything else. Because she realized, finally, that she wasn't in control. Not anymore. "You'll regret this," she hissed, tears burning her eyes, fake or real. It didn't matter anymore. "I already regret marrying you," I said. She staggered back like I punched her. Mike tried to step forward, all puffed up chest and empty bravado, but I turned on him so fast he nearly tripped over his own feet. "This isn't your fight," I said, my voice low enough that only he heard. "But it will be your funeral if you don't back off." Mike froze. Coward at heart. Emily grabbed her purse, tears smearing her perfect makeup, and ran out into the sunlight. I let her go. I wasn't chasing her anymore. The empire she built on lies was collapsing, and I wasn't lifting a single finger to stop it. The high of it lasted exactly until I walked back to the car. Then it hit me, like a punch straight to the chest. Not the anger, not the adrenaline, the emptiness. The kind of hollow ache that makes the world look gray and sound muted. I sat behind the wheel, staring out at nothing, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles went white. Emily was gone. Not just the woman who betrayed me. The girl I fell in love with at 21. The woman who promised forever with tears in her eyes. That woman didn't exist anymore. Maybe she never did. I laughed, a broken, bitter sound. People walked past on the sidewalk, giving me strange looks. A man sitting in his car, laughing at nothing. If they only knew. I drove aimlessly for a while. Past the park where we had our first date. Past the cafe where she told me she was pregnant with our first, only to later admit she wasn't sure if it was mine. Yeah, I remembered that little betrayal too. I passed the courthouse. Cold gray stone. And for the first time, I didn't just think about divorce. I tasted it. Savored it. I was done playing games. By the time I got home, I had a plan. The house felt even colder than the night before. Every room whispered her name. Every piece of furniture was stained with memories I no longer wanted. I went straight to the bedroom. Her closet. Her jewelry box. Her drawers. Empty. She'd already been here. She had packed what she could grab and fled, like a thief running from her own crimes. Good. Less work for me. On the bed, she left a note, torn from a journal page, written in her messy, rushed handwriting. I'm sorry you found out this way. We both deserve to be happy. I'll be staying with Mike until I figure things out. Please don't make this ugly. I still care about you. Still care about me. What a goddamn joke. I crushed the note in my hand, feeling the paper tear against my skin. No tears came. No rage exploded. I was done feeling for her. Instead, I opened the safe under the bed, the one she thought I didn't know about, and pulled out the folder inside. Documents. Bank accounts. Property deeds. Proof of every shady little move she made while smiling at me across the dinner table. Over the last 6 months, Emily hadn't just been sneaking around hotels. She'd been siphoning money out of our joint accounts, setting up private investments, buying gifts for Mike with money she pretended we were saving for the future. It wasn't just betrayal of the body. It was betrayal of trust, of partnership, of every promise she ever made. I felt nothing for her now. Not love. Not hate. Just cold. The kind of cold that settles into your bones and never leaves. I spent the next 3 hours drafting emails. To the lawyers. To the bank. To the real estate agents. Freezing accounts. Securing assets. Tightening the noose. By the time the sun set, Emily's world was smaller. Tighter. Closing in like a trap she didn't even know she'd walked into. And me? I sat on the porch, a glass of whiskey in hand, watching the last light bleed out of the sky. Tomorrow would be the real beginning. The beginning of the end for her. And the beginning of something cleaner, sharper, stronger for me. No more lies. No more illusions. Only truth. And consequences. Sunday morning came with a phone call. I let it ring. And ring. And ring. She called again. Then Mike. Then her mother. Desperation, like rats trapped on a sinking ship. I finally answered on the 4th try, just to hear the panic in her voice. Jason, Emily gasped. The bank froze my account. I can't access anything. My cards are being declined. What's happening? I sipped my coffee, letting the silence stretch. Letting her twist. Maybe you should ask Mike to pay for breakfast, I said, voice smooth, cold. You're being insane, she snapped, her fake sweetness cracking. You can't do this. I need access to my money. Our money, I corrected. But not anymore. Not yours. Not his. You can't leave me with nothing. I didn't, I said calmly. You did that all by yourself. I hung up, and for the first time in months, maybe years, I smiled without bitterness clinging to my teeth. She thought she could humiliate me, steal from me, rip apart our life and walk away unscathed. She thought wrong. The next blow hit by noon. I filed for divorce, emergency grounds, adultery, financial misconduct, emotional abuse. The paperwork was delivered personally. To Mike's apartment. A small, neat manila envelope placed into Emily's perfectly manicured hands by a grinning courier. Witnesses said she screamed. Threw the papers at the door. Mike tried to calm her down, then realized his own life was about to implode too. Because I wasn't done. I leaked everything. Not to the internet. No, too messy. I sent everything directly to the people who mattered most to her. Her father, who had always treated me like a son. Her sister, who once warned me Emily wasn't who I thought she was. Her best friends, the ones who had been suspiciously absent lately. They all got a little private gallery of Emily's greatest hits. The screenshots. The videos. The bank statements. Cold. Undeniable. Signed. Sealed. Delivered. By sunset, her phone must have been melting from all the furious calls and texts. The cherry on top? Mike's landlord got an anonymous tip about unauthorized overnight guest violating lease terms. He was given 30 days to vacate. Emily was about to find herself not just broke, not just divorced, but homeless too. It wasn't revenge. It was justice. By evening, she showed up at my door. Puffy eyes. No makeup. Clothes wrinkled and cheap-looking without the jewelry and designer bags she once flaunted. She knocked once. Twice. 3 times. Jason, she cried. Please, can we just talk? I opened the door, just enough to see her. Not enough to invite her in. I'm not here to beg, she said, voice trembling. I made mistakes. But you don't have to destroy me. I stared at her. At the woman who slipped out of our bed to whisper filth into another man's ear. At the woman who grinned while grabbing another man's hand in front of me. At the woman who gambled our life together for cheap thrills and thought she'd win. You destroyed yourself, I said. Her face crumpled. You loved me once, she whispered, tears sliding down her cheeks. Doesn't that mean anything? It did, I said. Past tense. I started to close the door. Jason, please, she sobbed, clutching the frame. Where am I supposed to go? What am I supposed to do? Ask Mike, I said. Then I shut the door, locked it, and walked away. No more bargaining. No more lies. Emily was just a ghost now, haunting the ruins of her own choices. And I was finally free. The house was quiet after I shut the door on Emily. Not just silent. Peaceful. Like for the first time in years, the walls themselves could finally breathe again. I didn't rush to clean up the mess she left behind. The half-packed drawers. The perfume bottles littering the bathroom counter. The scattered reminders of a woman who treated love like a cheap disposable toy. No, I left them there. For a few days. As a reminder. A graveyard for everything that was dead between us. The first night alone was harder than I thought it would be. It wasn't about missing her, not really. It was about missing the idea of her. The Emily I thought I married. The life I thought we were building. Grief isn't always about the person you lose. Sometimes it's about the illusions you have to bury. I sat on the living room floor with a bottle of whiskey, flipping through old photo albums like a fool. Our wedding day, her smiling like she meant it. Our first apartment, tiny, ugly, perfect. Vacations, birthdays, lazy Sundays on the couch. Each picture was a punch straight to the gut. Because now I knew. Behind every fake smile, behind every staged kiss, there were lies. Maybe not from the beginning, but eventually. And once the rot starts, it spreads everywhere. By the second night, the sadness turned into something cleaner. Sharper. Determination. I boxed up everything that belonged to her. The clothes. The shoes. The jewelry. Every glittering thing she used to decorate her lies. I stacked the boxes in the garage next to the trash bins. Let her figure out how to collect the pieces she left behind. I changed the locks the next morning. Canceled her access to the accounts. Blocked her number. Erased her from the house, step by brutal step. It wasn't easy, but every little act was a stitch pulling my wounds closed. It wasn't just about moving on. It was about reclaiming my own damn life. The real surprise came on the third day. The knock at the door. Not Emily. Not Mike. Not even one of her backstabbing friends. It was Amber, Emily's younger sister. She stood there awkwardly, hands stuffed into the pockets of a worn hoodie, looking like she hadn't slept in days. I heard what happened, she said quietly. I wanted to say I'm sorry. I blinked, caught off guard. Amber and I had never been close. She always seemed a little wild, a little reckless, a younger version of Emily without the venom. But now, there was no venom. Only raw, genuine regret. You deserved better, she said, voice cracking a little. I always knew she wasn't good enough for you. I didn't know what to say. I hadn't realized how badly I needed someone, anyone, to just acknowledge the madness. Amber hesitated, then pulled something out of her pocket. A flash drive. My heart stopped. She asked me to hide this, Amber said. A few months ago. I didn't know what it was at the time. After everything. I figured you should have it. I took it from her, feeling its weight like a loaded gun in my hand. What's on it? I asked. I don't know, she said. But whatever it is, it's not something she wanted you to see. Amber turned to leave but paused at the steps. For what it's worth, she said over her shoulder, you're the best thing that ever happened to her. She was just too stupid to realize it. Then she was gone. And I was left standing there, a flash drive burning a hole in my palm, wondering how much deeper the rabbit hole went. Because if Emily had secrets bad enough to hide even from me, after everything she'd already done, then maybe the real betrayal hadn't even started yet. The flash drive sat untouched on the coffee table for hours. I circled it like it was a live bomb. Part of me didn't want to know. Hadn't I seen enough? Wasn't the affair, the stolen money, the public humiliation enough? But another part of me, the part that hadn't died, needed to see it. Needed to bury the last pieces of her lies. I poured a drink, turned off the lights, sat down, and plugged it in. The folder opened immediately. No password. No encryption. Just one single video file. I hesitated for a second, then clicked play. The screen filled with grainy footage. A hotel room. Our hotel room. The one where Emily and I spent our 5th anniversary. My gut twisted before anything even happened. I knew. The door opened, and there she was, Emily, wearing the same little black dress she'd worn for me that night. Only she wasn't alone. Mike stumbled in behind her, drunk, laughing, groping her like a cheap prize. I watched, frozen, as she pushed him onto the bed, laughing that same fake laugh she used on me for years. Then she pulled off her dress, no hesitation, no shame, and climbed onto his lap. Their voices were clear as glass. God, it's so much better without him, Emily whispered, tossing her head back. Mike laughed. You think he has any idea? He's an idiot, she said, breathless, grinding against him. All he cares about is paying the bills and playing perfect husband. Pathetic. I didn't watch the rest. I couldn't. I slammed the laptop shut so hard the screen cracked. My breathing was ragged. My hands shook. It wasn't just betrayal of the body. It wasn't just the money. It was her soul. Every kiss she gave me after that night. Every, I love you. Every smile. All poisoned. All fake. I sat there in the dark, heart pounding in my ears, feeling something inside me snap. Not break. Snap. The kind of clean, final break you don't recover from. That's when it hit me. She never loved me. Not really. I was a paycheck. A safe harbor. A backup plan. And the second she thought she found something better, she tossed me aside like garbage. The sad part? She didn't even find anything better. Mike was a joke. A pathetic little man hiding behind muscles and cheap cologne. She threw away a kingdom for a dumpster fire. I poured another drink, this time letting the whiskey burn all the way down. No more sadness. No more second-guessing. It was time to finish it. I picked up my phone and texted my lawyer. File for full asset protection. No alimony. File for infidelity clauses. Immediate motion. I wanted the divorce finalized so fast it would make her head spin. Emily didn't deserve a penny. Not after this. Not after mocking me, betraying me, and using me like a goddamn ATM. By the time I finished setting everything into motion, it was almost dawn. The first light of morning bled through the windows, painting everything gold. A new day. A day without her lies. A day where I wasn't someone's fool. I opened the front door, letting the cool air wash over me. Freedom tasted a lot like cold air and quiet mornings. And for the first time since Emily whispered panties would be useless for Mike. I smiled. A real smile. Because soon she'd have nothing left but the ashes of the life she tried to burn for fun. And I was just getting started. 2 weeks later, the final papers were ready. The divorce was brutal for her. I kept everything. The house. The cars. The investments. She got nothing but her own debts and a reputation that would follow her like a bad smell wherever she went. Mike? He disappeared faster than a cockroach when the lights come on. As soon as Emily's accounts dried up, so did his love. Poetic. Really. I didn't need to lift a finger. They destroyed themselves. The last time I saw her was outside the courthouse. She looked different. Smaller. Her hair was tangled, her makeup smudged, her expensive heels scuffed from God knows how many desperate nights chasing men who didn't want her anymore. She tried to catch my eye as I walked past. Tried to summon some of that old magic, the charm she used to weaponize against me. But there was nothing left. No love. No hate. Just nothing. She was a stranger now. A cautionary tale in designer rags. She opened her mouth to say something, maybe an apology, maybe another lie, but I didn't give her the chance. I walked past without a word. Without a glance. She didn't deserve my anger. She didn't even deserve my acknowledgement. She was a ghost. And I had stopped believing in ghosts. That night, I sat on the same porch where I once questioned everything. Only this time, there was no bottle of whiskey. No photo albums of broken promises. No chains around my chest. Just me. Whole. Stronger. Wiser. I realized something then. The real betrayal wasn't that Emily cheated. It was that I betrayed myself. I ignored the signs. I silenced my instincts. I accepted less than I deserved because I thought love meant loyalty no matter the cost. But love, real love, isn't about suffering quietly while someone guts you with a smile. It's about respect. About truth. And if those things die, love is already a corpse. I spent the next few months rebuilding, not just my finances or my routines, but myself. I hit the gym harder. I traveled to places Emily always said were a waste of money. I reconnected with old friends she had alienated from me. Slowly, piece by piece, I stitched a new life together. One that wasn't built on lies. And you know what? It was better. Better without the games. Better without the constant second-guessing. Better without her. One evening, at a coffee shop downtown, I met someone. Sophia. She wasn't flashy like Emily. No games. No manipulation. Just real smiles. Real conversations. Real respect. We started slow. I was cautious, burned once. You don't just dive back in without checking the water. But Sophia was patient. Kind. The kind of person who doesn't just heal your wounds. She makes you forget they ever existed. And even if nothing came of it, even if it was just one bright moment in the darkness, it reminded me of something important. I wasn't broken. I was just free. I learned that betrayal isn't the end. It's a door. One you have to walk through, bleeding, bruised, and furious, but walk through nonetheless. Because on the other side, there's peace. There's strength. There's a life built on something real. If I could go back, would I change anything? Maybe. Maybe not. Every scar carved a stronger version of me. Every lie sharpened my instincts. Every fall taught me how to rise. So if you're reading this, if you're standing where I once stood, watching everything burn, wondering if you'll ever breathe again, know this. You will. And when you do, you'll be unstoppable. Just like me. You ever stare death in the face, while your wife smiles at you from across the dinner table? It was meatloaf. Her famous damn meatloaf. The kind she only made on special days. Birthdays. Promotions. And apparently, murder night. My son Dylan was the first to drop his fork. His fingers twitched. I caught his eyes just before they rolled back. Then I felt it too, a sharp, burning pull in my gut. My knees buckled. But I didn't black out. I faked it. As I hit the cold tile floor, I heard her gasp. That high-pitched, fake gasp she used when she was acting, not feeling. Oh no, babe, Dylan. But she didn't run over. She didn't scream. She walked away. Calm. Measured steps. I cracked my eyelid open just enough to watch her disappear down the hallway, phone in hand. And then I heard it. It's done. They'll both be gone soon. Those words burned into my skull like acid. My heart pounded so loud I thought she'd hear it. I felt Dylan's little hand brush mine. I whispered without moving my lips. Don't move yet. She stayed in the hallway too long. Whispering, pacing. Her voice turned playful, the way she spoke when she flirted. He bought the whole dinner crap. I even told him I missed cooking. Can you believe it? I wanted to vomit. I wanted to kill. But I stayed still. She came back into the room, heels clicking like a countdown. Stood over us, checked for breathing. Then she leaned down and whispered into my ear. Should have signed those divorce papers, Eric. And then she laughed. A sick little chuckle like she just won the jackpot. But what she didn't know, what this venomous witch didn't expect, was that I'd spent the last 2 weeks suspecting something. And I wasn't alone. It started with perfume. Not hers. Something expensive. Spicy. Found it on my pillow when I came back from a work trip. Then the lingerie in the laundry, 2 sizes too small, still with price tags. And the text she left open on the kitchen iPad. Can't wait to see you again. His son's cute, though. Too bad he has to go too. That was 5 days ago. I took Dylan and ran every test in the book. Blood, hair, spit, no poison. Yet. But tonight, I told her I wanted a nice dinner, like old times. Told her I was finally ready to talk. I even wore that stupid shirt she got me for our anniversary. Then I switched our plates. Mine with hers. Dylan's with the untouched backup in the fridge. And she ate. Half a bite before pushing it away, saying she wasn't hungry. Detox, she claimed. Right. Now she was stepping over my body, texting, humming, thinking she won. Thinking she was going to ride off with some douchebag and my insurance money. Until the doorbell rang. She flinched. Then it rang again. Harder. I whispered to Dylan. Now? We sat up at the same time. Like ghosts. Her face. My God, her face. I've never seen a mask shatter that fast. You. What the F asterisk asterisk asterisk. The door burst open before she could finish. 2 men in suits entered. My lawyer and a private investigator. Cameras. Recorders. And copies of every damn file I'd collected on her in the last week. Oh, and by the way, I stood up, legs still shaking. We heard everything. Amanda. She screamed. A high, ugly screech. Knocked a glass off the table. Then she charged toward Dylan, like she could shut him up. Like she still had control. But I stepped in her way. I will never forget her eyes in that moment, the hatred, the panic, the fear of exposure. She didn't care that she was caught. She cared that her plan didn't work. And that was just the beginning. She lunged again, and this time, I didn't move. I wanted her to try. I wanted her to show everyone just how deep the monster ran inside her. But she stopped inches from my face, breathing hard, eyes wild like a caged animal cornered for the first time. You think this proves anything? She hissed. You switch plates. That's entrapment or something illegal. He's a kid, Eric. You used your kid to trap me. I didn't flinch. I didn't speak. I just looked over at the lawyer, who nodded and pressed play on the recorder. Her voice filled the room. It's done. They'll both be gone soon. Silence. Thick, hot silence. Amanda's shoulders dropped. The fight drained from her face. But only for a second. She looked back up at me with a sneer. Oh, come on. What are you going to do, Eric? Go crying to the police? You think they'll believe this nonsense? You've always been dramatic. Always playing the victim. I stared at her. Not blinking. Not letting her words touch me. I was past that. Past the games, the manipulation, the crying spell she faked whenever she didn't get her way. The investigator handed me a flash drive. I took it without looking. Every call. Every text. Even the ones you thought you deleted, he said. Not to me, but to her. Eric had us follow you for 4 days. Hotel meetups. Restaurant conversations. We got it all. She blinked. Once. Twice. Then smiled. So what? She said, almost singing it now. So what, Eric? You think this ends you and me? I'll tell them you're insane. I'll say you threatened me. I'll say you're abusive. You think custody of Dylan is going to just fall into your lap because you've got a few spy toys. That's when Dylan stepped forward. My boy. Brave, smart, and far more grown than she ever deserved. He opened his backpack and pulled out a small device, one I had installed for safety months ago. A voice recorder hidden in the lining. Dad didn't make me do anything, he said, his voice shaking but firm. You said I was in the way. I heard you. Amanda froze. You're bluffing, she snapped. But Dylan pressed play. And there it was. Her voice, soft but cold. He's just a kid, but I can't leave him behind. The payout depends on both. Her own words. Her own murder plan. Spoken into the silence of our living room. Right next to the picture frames and fake inspirational quotes she used to pretend she was human. She stepped back like the floor was crumbling beneath her. You, little s******, she whispered, eyes on Dylan. You ruined everything. My hand clenched into a fist. I felt heat rise in my chest, in my jaw, behind my eyes. I took a step toward her. You tried to kill our son. She shook her head, desperate, flailing now. No, it was just talk. I didn't mean it. It was just the guy. Logan, he said if I didn't get the money, he'd leave. Logan. The name landed like a hammer. Not because it was unfamiliar, but because I knew exactly who he was. My old college roommate. The one who crashed on our couch 3 years ago when he said he lost his job. The one she called just a friend. The one she'd disappear with for grocery runs that took 2 damn hours. You cheated on me with Logan? I said, almost laughing now, not because it was funny, but because the last pieces of the puzzle had finally clicked into place. She didn't deny it. She didn't even blink. Yeah, I did, she said, lifting her chin. Because he actually makes me feel alive. Unlike you, stuck in your 9-to-5, boring-ass husband act. You were never enough for me, Eric. Not in bed. Not in life. Not even now. There it was. The venom. The real Amanda. All this time she wore that wife mask. But now? Now I saw the thing behind the curtain. And it wasn't human. I didn't yell. Didn't curse. Didn't cry. I just walked to the kitchen table, opened the drawer, and took out the manila envelope. Inside, the signed divorce papers. Dated. Witnessed. And already filed. You've already lost, I told her. And by tomorrow morning, the only place you'll be sleeping is in a cell. She laughed again, like it was all some twisted game. But the color drained from her face when the investigator added. We also intercepted a text from Logan. He didn't think she'd actually go through with it. He's already cooperating. Amanda screamed, a loud, guttural, banshee scream, and lunged at me one last time. But this time, the lawyer stepped in, grabbed her arms. The investigator held her back. You're done, I said, calmly. Then the front door opened, and the police walked in. She didn't even resist as they cuffed her. Just stood there, breathing heavy, eyes locked on me like she was trying to burn a hole through my skull. Her mascara was smeared down both cheeks, and the once perfect curls she spent hours in the mirror perfecting were now falling apart strand by strand. "You set me up," she whispered as they read her rights. "You son of a b asterisk 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 asterisk. You used our kid." I stepped closer, just enough for her to hear but not enough for anyone else. "No, Amanda. I protected him. From you." The officer guided her toward the door, and even then she still fought to have the last word. "This isn't over. You think you're a hero? You're nothing, Eric. Nothing." The door slammed behind her, and I swear, for the first time in what felt like years, the house fell quiet. Not that eerie, uneasy silence that's filled with things left unsaid. No. This silence was peaceful, heavy, but clean, like after a storm finally clears. Dylan stood beside me, looking up with wide, uncertain eyes. He was trying to process all of it, the woman he called Mom turning into someone we barely recognized. "You okay?" I asked. He nodded slowly. "Yeah, I think so." We stood like that for a long minute, just breathing, just existing. I didn't realize I had tears in my eyes until he reached up and wiped one away. That broke me. I sat on the floor, and he sank down next to me, and I just held him tight. That night, neither of us slept. I made us sandwiches. We sat on the couch with the TV playing something neither of us paid attention to. I watched the door more than the screen, half expecting her to come crashing through again. But she didn't. Instead, just after 1 a.m., my phone buzzed. It was from Logan. I didn't know she'd actually do it. I swear, man, I just wanted out. She said she had a plan. I thought she was bluffing. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. The next morning came slow and gray, rain tapping the windows like soft fingers. I made Dylan pancakes and poured myself the strongest coffee I've ever brewed. The detective called at 9:43. "Your wife confessed," he said. "We've got her on attempted murder, conspiracy, endangering a minor. She's not going anywhere for a long time. Logan's handing over more evidence too. This is airtight, Eric." I thanked him, hung up, then stared at the phone for a long time, my hand trembling. Not out of fear. Out of the sudden, heavy realization that it was over. She was gone. And now came the hard part, putting back the pieces. Dylan was strong. Stronger than me, even. He didn't cry much. Didn't ask for her. I guess some part of him had felt the coldness growing long before I'd let myself believe it. But me? I replayed it all. Every damn moment. The night she said she was going for a drive. The way she suddenly forgot to pick up Dylan from school. The smile she gave when she looked at her phone, not the kind of smile you give your husband. There were other things too. Subtle cruelties that I'd written off. Like the time she called me a failure in front of her friends because I didn't get that promotion. Or when she accidentally told Dylan I'd once cried in the garage. Looking back now, I realized something. She didn't fall out of love. She never loved me at all. She loved control, image, power. And when I stopped feeding those things, she went hunting elsewhere. And the most twisted part? She was ready to erase us to move on. I spent weeks watching the trial unfold. I didn't attend every hearing, but the big one, the one where she pled guilty, I was there. She didn't look at me once. Dylan never asked to visit her. Never once brought her up again. And I never pushed it. The papers came through a month later. Divorce finalized. Full custody awarded. I burned the last photo we had of her. Not out of spite, but because I didn't want even a shadow of her left in this house. The house became ours again. Peaceful, quiet, real. And one night, as I tucked Dylan in, he looked at me and said something that broke my heart and rebuilt it in the same breath. "I'm glad we didn't eat the real dinner." Me too, kid. Me too. And that's how I survived a betrayal so deep, it nearly killed me. Literally. But I'm still here. Still standing. And I'll never ignore the signs again. The months that followed weren't simple, but they were honest. No more lies, no more late-night whispers behind closed doors, no more pretending I didn't notice the perfume that wasn't hers or the lipstick on coffee cups she never wore. Dylan and I built a new routine, slow, clumsy, but ours. I started walking him to school every morning. We talked more, laughed more. I cooked real dinners again. Simple things. Grilled cheese, spaghetti, pancakes at night just because we felt like it. I let him crack the eggs even when he made a mess. I think that mattered more than I realized. I began to feel human again. The one thing I didn't expect? How many people had seen the cracks in my marriage but never said a word? After the news broke, old friends and even neighbors started reaching out. "Eric, man, I always thought she was cold." Never understood how she talked to you like that. My wife said she saw her with a guy at the wine bar last year, but figured it wasn't her place to say anything. Not her place? It made me furious at first. Not at them, but at myself. For being so blind. For choosing comfort over clarity. For staying when I should have walked years ago. But that anger passed. What didn't pass was the habit of checking every door twice at night. Or scanning faces in public places, wondering if someone was watching us the way we used to be watched. Logan never tried to reach out again after that one pathetic text. He cooperated with the police, turned over emails, texts, photos. He flipped on her so fast it almost made me feel sorry for her. Almost. The thing about Amanda is she was always the type to bet everything on control. When that was gone, there was nothing left underneath. No love. No shame. Just an empty space where a soul should have been. But the hardest part wasn't forgiving her. That would never happen. The hardest part was forgiving myself. Forgiving myself for loving someone so cruel. For letting her wear me down, year after year. For ignoring the little moments where I felt something shift, the time she rolled her eyes when Dylan hugged me, or the way she'd smirk when I stuttered during arguments. Those weren't accidents. That was erosion. And I let it happen. One evening, maybe 6 months after the arrest, Dylan asked me something simple but sharp. Did Mom ever love us? I didn't know how to answer. I didn't want to lie to him, not after everything. But I also didn't want to break him more than she already had. So I told the truth. A version of it. I think she loved something. But maybe it wasn't us. Maybe it was what we gave her, the house, the comfort, the attention. But not us. He nodded like he understood more than he should have. Then went back to his Legos. Kids are resilient, but they also carry shadows. One night, I found him sitting on the stairs in the dark. I asked what was wrong. He said he had a dream she came back. That she tried again. This time with a knife. I didn't have words for that. So I sat next to him and held him until the silence made him sleepy. I'd always imagined I'd grow old beside someone. That I'd have a partner, a person who'd watch our kid grow into a man and laugh with me at bad movies and argue over dumb things like thermostat settings. But life doesn't always give you what you planned for. Sometimes, it gives you a nightmare. And if you're lucky, it gives you a second chance after. I started therapy. Not because I wanted to talk, but because I didn't want to rot from the inside out. The therapist said something that stuck with me. You can't hate yourself for loving someone broken. But you can learn to never hand your heart to someone who drops it just to see what sound it makes. I wrote that down. I keep it on the fridge now. Next to Dylan's drawings. Right above a magnet that says, Best Dad Ever, the kind you get from the dollar bin, but feels like a damn trophy after everything you've been through. Amanda's still locked up. Tried to appeal. Denied. Probably will be for a long time. But it doesn't matter anymore. She's out of our world. And I'm not just surviving now. I'm living. Slowly, quietly, but honestly. There was a night, maybe a year after everything, when Dylan and I were watching some dumb comedy on the couch. He was half asleep, blanket up to his chin, eyes barely open. And he suddenly said, I don't miss her anymore. It hit me harder than I thought it would. I didn't answer right away. I looked at him, really looked, and realized how much he'd grown. How steady he seemed. How peaceful. Like some invisible weight had finally slipped off his shoulders. I don't either, I said. And I meant it. I stopped dreaming about her. I stopped waiting for another text, another trick, another ghost from the past to crawl through the cracks. The nightmares faded. The security system I installed the week she was arrested, I turned it off. Not because I stopped being careful, I just wasn't afraid anymore. People at work started noticing, too. Something's different about you, Eric. Yeah, I'd say. I stopped dying slowly. Some laughed, not knowing what I meant. Some nodded, like they'd been there too. There was one moment, though, that surprised me more than anything else. Her sister, Heather, showed up. Out of nowhere. On a rainy Saturday afternoon, standing at my front door with a paper bag full of bakery pastries and that same nervous smile I remembered from family barbecues. The one she used when Amanda would start fights in public. I didn't want to let her in. But she looked broken. Not like Amanda broken, not manipulative, not cold. Just tired. I didn't know, she said before I could even speak. I swear, Eric, I didn't know what she was planning. I didn't even know about Logan. I didn't answer. I let her talk. Maybe because I needed closure from her too. She sat at the kitchen counter and cried into her tea. She changed, you know? After Dylan was born, something flipped. She started lying about stupid things. Then bigger ones. I tried to talk to her, but she'd just laugh. Said I was boring. Said you were boring. I listened, not because I cared what Amanda thought anymore, but because it was nice to hear someone say out loud what I'd been too ashamed to admit for years. She stayed for half an hour, gave Dylan a book, hugged me before leaving. I didn't hug her back, but I said thank you. That was enough. That night, I looked through old photo albums. Not to reminisce, more to clean house. I tossed out every picture with her in it. Kept the ones of Dylan and me. Birthday parties. His first bike ride. Us covered in flour trying to bake cookies. Every one of them, she was missing. Even then, I hadn't realized how long she'd been gone emotionally, mentally, before she ever walked out the door in cuffs. I stopped trying to understand why someone could do what she did. There's no logic in betrayal that deep. No rational explanation for a mother who poisons dinner, for a wife who whispers death sentences while her husband lies pretending to die. Some people are just broken wrong. But me? I wasn't broken anymore. I started dating again. Slowly. Cautiously. No big gestures. Just coffee, movies, conversation. I didn't bring anyone home for a long time. Dylan came first. Always. But eventually, I met someone who didn't lie with her smile. Her name's Rachel. She knows the story. I told her everything. Expected her to run. She didn't. She looked at me across a diner table and said, "If you lived through that, you can live through anything." She was right. The first night she met Dylan, they built a Lego spaceship together. She didn't try too hard. Didn't force affection. She just listened to him, laughed at his weird jokes, asked about his favorite superhero. And he responded. Easily. Naturally. I stood in the doorway and watched them. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel dread waiting around the corner. I felt hope. Hope that not every love ends in fire. That some people stay. That trust can be rebuilt, even after the foundation's been blown to hell. I still have scars. They don't fade. But they don't bleed anymore either. If you're reading this, if you've been through something like it, if you're stuck in a house where the silence is louder than words, listen to it. Listen hard. That silence is trying to tell you something. And sometimes, leaving doesn't mean giving up. Sometimes, it means choosing to live. I didn't know how much of myself I had lost until I started getting pieces back. It wasn't dramatic. There was no lightning strike. No movie moment where I screamed at the sky or broke down in some stranger's arms. It was small things. Noticing music again. Actually tasting food. Laughing, really laughing, at something dumb Dylan said and realizing it wasn't forced. Healing sneaks up on you like that. One afternoon, I took Dylan to the lake. We used to go there every summer, back before everything turned to ash. He stood at the edge, skipping stones, just like he used to when he was 5. I sat on a bench and watched. No phone. No distractions. Just the wind, the water, and the sound of his rock plunking into the distance. "Dad," he said after a while, "do you think people like Mom know they're bad?" I didn't answer right away. Because what do you say to that? How do you explain the kind of evil that looks you in the eyes and smiles? I said carefully, they convince themselves they're not. They blame everyone else. And when things go wrong, they pretend it's someone else's fault. He nodded, staring down at the ripples. Then I'm glad I'm not like her. I smiled. Not because he needed reassurance, he didn't. He already knew. I smiled because he was growing into a man who could look at a monster and not let it twist him into one too. Rachel met us at the lake an hour later. She brought sandwiches, homemade lemonade, a blanket. Nothing fancy. But she knelt down, kissed Dylan's hair, and handed him a PB&J like it was the most natural thing in the world. That's when I knew I'd been given a second chance. And this time, I wasn't going to screw it up by ignoring what mattered. I didn't chase chaos anymore. Didn't mistake drama for passion or cruelty for strength. I learned to love quiet. Steady. Safe. I used to think those things were boring, that if a relationship didn't have fights and fire and breakdowns, it wasn't real. Now I knew better. Real love doesn't need explosions. It just needs to stay. And Rachel stayed. She never flinched when I woke up from a nightmare. Never rolled her eyes when I double-checked the locks. Never judged me when I told her, blunt and honest. Some days, I still feel like I'm choking on what she did. She just held my hand and said, "Then let's keep breathing together." I told her I loved her for the first time while we were grocery shopping. We were arguing about cereal, stupid thing, and she made a face, scrunched her nose, laughed, and shoved a box of Cocoa Puffs in the cart. And it just spilled out, "I love you." She froze. Not in fear, but in surprise. Then she said it back. There was no dramatic swell of music. No teary embrace. Just two people in a grocery aisle, holding on to something real. I told Dylan before we moved in together, Set him down, explained everything, asked how he felt about it. He shrugged. She makes good cookies, he said. And she doesn't lie. That's enough for me. We moved forward. Not fast, but right. Built a home that didn't smell like perfume lies or echo with fake apologies. I still have that flash drive. The one with Amanda's recordings. It's in the back of a drawer somewhere, under old tax forms and expired coupons. I haven't listened to it in over a year. Haven't needed to. The last time I saw Amanda was in court. Sentencing day. She wore an orange jumpsuit and that same cold, practiced look I used to mistake for composure. She scanned the room once. Looked for sympathy. Found none. When the judge read her sentence, 15 years without parole, she didn't flinch. But when she glanced at me and saw Rachel holding Dylan's hand, her mouth twitched. Just for a second. The mask cracked. She looked away. That was the last time. Some people say closure is a conversation, an apology, a tearful ending. That's not true. Sometimes, closure is just knowing you lived. That you crawled out of the wreckage, held your child's hand, and walked towards something better. And that the person who tried to destroy you will never matter again. Years from now, maybe I'll tell Dylan everything. Not just the facts, not just that his mother tried to poison us and got locked away, but the full truth. The twisted silences, the sharp smiles, the way she made me feel like I was slowly disappearing every day I stayed with her. But not yet. Right now, he deserves a childhood. He deserves peace. He deserves to believe that life can be beautiful, that love can be safe, that not all good things are traps with sharp teeth underneath. And me? I'm not angry anymore. I'm not scared either. I'm just awake. I see things I used to miss, the little glances, the pauses, the tone under the words. I listen harder. I hug longer. I speak softer. I know now that love isn't supposed to make you doubt your worth. It isn't supposed to leave you guessing if you're enough. If you ever find yourself begging to be noticed, respected, loved, that's not love. That's survival dressed in the wrong clothes. Amanda taught me that. In the worst possible way. And Rachel? She taught me something else. That starting over doesn't mean erasing the past. It means learning from it. It means choosing better. And letting someone choose you back. We got married last fall. Quietly. Small ceremony in the woods. Just us, Dylan, and a few close friends. No fancy decorations, no big speeches. Just vows whispered under trees, and a boy who finally felt like the world was holding him safely again. After the ceremony, Dylan looked up at me and asked, "You happy now, Dad?" And without thinking, without hesitation, I answered, "Yeah, I really am. That's how I survived betrayal. Not by getting revenge. Not by becoming colder. But by living louder. So if you've ever sat in silence wondering what's real, if you've ever looked at the person you love and felt afraid of their smile, if you've ever thought maybe it's better to stay than be alone, hear this. Being alone with peace is better than dying slowly in someone else's arms. Don't wait for poison to tell you the truth. Listen to your gut. Listen to your child's eyes. Listen to the silence between the lies. And when you walk away, don't look back. You're not leaving something behind. You're saving something that still has a chance to live. You.